Seeing a quorum of voting members, I call the September 8th Cincinnati School Board meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Roll call. Where are we at? I'm so sorry. Superintendent Murphy, please introduce our wonderful students.
So excited to introduce everybody to our RAM fam. Today, during the Pledge of Allegiance, we have students from Cheviot School, where Principal Tammy Solomon Gray is their leader.
Everyone stand for the pledge. Thank you to Principal Solomon Gray and the Cheviot Rams. Treasurer Guston, please call the attendance roll.
Mr. Craig.
Here.
Mr. Crossett. Mr. Lindy.
Here.
Ms. Mapp.
Here.
Mrs. Weinberg.
Here.
Vice President Bolton. President Moffitt.
Here. And welcome to the dais, Treasurer Guston. I did it. I was looking right at you and I did it. So welcome.
Thank you.
Board Member Weinberg, would you please explain the virtual hearing of the public process on behalf of Vice President Bolton as she is at COSBA's Federal Advocacy Conference in Washington, D.C.?
Yes, absolutely. So members of the public who are online and wish to speak during our hearing of the public this evening may do so by clicking the chat button now. The chat feature will be open for your request for 5 minutes. And if you would like a direct response to your questions, please make sure to share your name, affiliation to the district, your school community, topic, and also your contact information.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second to approve the September 8th business meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer Guston, please call the voting roll.
Mr. Craig.
Yes.
Mr. Lindy.
Yes.
Ms. Mapp.
Yes.
Mrs. Weinberg.
Yes.
President Moffitt.
Yes. Tonight's agenda is approved as posted. Superintendent Murphy, please update the board about your goals and guardrails.
Absolutely, thank you. At this time, we're going to have Mike Turner, who is the director over Goals and Guardrails, come forward. This is really an opportunity. We did share a presentation during the last board meeting, reminding the timeline for our Goals and Guardrails. Some of the goals have been met. Some are sunset due to the timing. Others, the board may have the pleasure of extending. And so we're at the end of the day seeking guidance from you on how you would like us to move forward with the Goals and Guardrails. So Mike Turner is going to share.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
So Rob, there is the slide deck. Says historical data. So while Rob is bringing that up, there it is. So one of the things that was requested was some historical data around the goals. And so you have before you a presentation, and I would like to thank, especially thank Amanda Vargo for a lot of her expertise with some of the data. So the next slide just gives a brief overview of why the information was requested. And so what we're providing is a few years worth of data in most cases. I will say that the most recent data that will be on the report card is not included because that has not been officially released. Go through this pretty quickly. Some of this you could delve into, take a very long time with it, but the next slide contains. Okay. I already broke a microphone. Wow. Can we turn this off? Yeah, this one. Can you hear me? Yo, boy, you can really hear that. So the next slide gives you a link to lots of historical data. Don't really need to go through that tonight, but it does definitely show the progression that has been followed over the years. Keep in mind that some of that data at that link is from the Secure Data Center and is tied directly to the report card for any given year. Some of the data has a tag on it that says CRS, which is Centralized Reporting System, and that is for all students. But the report card, we have our accountable students on that. So if we could go to the next slide, you can see the trend for third grade ELA. And in that, you'll notice that for the 23-24 school year, we do have a percentage of 57%, which actually already exceeded the strategic plan goal. The strategic plan goal for this year, actually, that ends is 51%. And so that goal was already exceeded last school year. We certainly know that it will be exceeded this school year. So we had made the request to move the goals up for the end of this school year and the end of the next school year. So this data definitely shows that. When we go to the next slide for sixth grade ELA, this is the one that is a little, if you could go back one slide, Rob. So this is the one, if you will recall, for sixth grade ELA, it's looking at subgroups. And without going into all of the bars at the bottom of that, there's a simplified table that we can look at now on the next slide. One of the things that you can go, yeah, that slide right there. One of the things that we talked about at a previous meeting is whether to split those groups out or keep them together. And so what we wanted to do was give you in table format so that you can look to see what that looks like. And so for the slide that is up there, you will notice a trend, sometimes up, sometimes down from 2020 all the way up to the 2023-2024 school year. Now keep in mind that these have the Black, Hispanic, and multiracial subgroups split out on that. And there was some concern voiced when we presented about splitting them out. So we wanted to show the comparison of what it looks like when they're separated. And so if we just go to the 2023-2024 school year, you can see the performance of the white subgroup versus Black, Hispanic, and multiracial. And the far right numbers for Black, Hispanic, and multiracial show the individual gaps for those subgroups. And so one of the things to point out is that for Black students, that gap is 45%. For multiracial, it's 26%. It's a pretty big variance between those groups. So the next slide shows that if those are all combined as they have been reported, that is the way that currently things are being reported, we have a combined proficiency rate for Black, Hispanic, and multiracial of 32.2%, which shows a gap of 42.3% compared to white students, but that lumps together all three of those groups. Now, of course, behind the scenes, from the curriculum standpoint, from being able to set goals and all of that, they can be split out behind the scenes. But based on your input, we wanted to put together what would it look like if they were separated versus put together. So Rob, could you go back to the previous slide just one more time? So on the previous slide, again, you'll see on the far right column how we have the variance from 45% all the way to 26%. And then the next slide shows what happens when those are actually combined. So then moving to goal number 3. Goal number 3 is the Algebra 1 trend data. And for 23-24, we were in that 38% range, but we already do know that based on the strategic plan goal of 40%, we do expect to exceed that. That is why the push goal was recommended for the end of this school year and the end of the 26-27 school year to move those goals up. I mean, we do, of course, you know, when you go along the way, this is a really good example of 2021 school year. There was a particular number and then we dipped. I think we could all attribute that dip to all of the things that occurred with the COVID shutdown. But now there's been a pretty steady rebound and it appears that those numbers are continuing to go up. That's why there was the request to make the goals higher than what they originally were in the strategic plan. Goal number 4 is an interesting goal. So current leadership was not part of the methodology that was used to determine the starting point of goal 4. So 47.6%, and again, that refers to minority students who earned either College Credit Plus or Workforce Credential as seniors was at a starting point of 47.6%. There's been some problems in interpreting, like where did that number come from? Also, what were the rules that were used for CCP credit? What were the rules used for Workforce Credential credit? So just to give you an example, and just stick with the 47.6% as the starting point in the strategic plan, kudos to Emily Maroney, college manager, and also Stephanie, who is one of the data people, looking at what would good rules be for this one. So for CCP credit, we use the number of graduating seniors that earned the CCP credit of a D or higher grade. So if they earned some sort of CCP credit, they passed the course, D or higher grade. Workforce Credential, we weren't really sure how the 47.6% related to Workforce Credential. Was that 1 point, 4 points, 12 points, 6 points? So what we did is said, and this is aligned to the report card, it's also aligned to the new indicator that measures college, career, workforce readiness, military. The number of students that received at least a 12-point industry recognized credential package. So using that, and then the denominator would be graduating seniors as stated in the goal. So for the 23-24 data, so again, using last, not this past group, but the group before, these were students who graduated in May of 2024. The next slide shows using those rules. And so all the subgroups are shown who graduated in the class of 2024. Looking at the or students, because that's the way the goal was written. So you earned either CCP credit with a D or higher, or you earned a 12-point industry credential package. So these are unique students. So based on the way the goal was written, for Black, Hispanic, and multiracial students combined, out of a denominator of almost 2,000, there was over 1,000 who earned, which is actually great, earned CCP or a 12-point IRC package. So that's 55.75%. So actually, when you look at it that way, there has been growth in that area. And in fact, the goal 4 had an annual target for 2025 of 58%. Now, this is based on 2024, but we know that our number of students who are earning 12 points or higher has been going up every year. We know the percentage of CCP students earning credit has been going up every year. So that gives you all a picture of how we're on target based on these rules, which really does align with the goals that were put into the strategic plan. Again, no recommendation to change those goals. And then goal 5 is graduation. And so there's a line graph for those of you who like line graphs. But if you go to the next slide, Rob, there's a table. So the table shows 4-year from class of 2019 all the way to class of 2023. Keep in mind, in that range of years, ODEW or ODE at the time, and now ODEW have changed the rules several times. But looking at that, you can see the trend, and then 5-year, you have that as well. But always keep in mind that the graduation data that's on the report card is a year behind. So it's a year in arrears. And we did not recommend any change to the graduation data because still not necessarily hitting that mark that was set in the strategic plan. So hopefully with the link that you got, which really digs deep into the data, and also all of these slides, that gives a better picture of the trend data. Also keep in mind that as this trickles down for the interim goals, for the strategic plan goals, they're tied to this information. And so at some point fairly soon, we need to be able to set the X to the Y for the interim goals for the strategic plan. The guardrails aren't necessarily tied to the report card data directly. So hopefully that gave you more information, but certainly willing to answer any questions or provide any other information that you may need.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions? Board Member Craig?
So thank you for putting together the kind of historical trend on some of these things and a little bit clarifying information. I wanted to just hit a couple of things real quick and giving my kind of thoughts on it and allow you to kind of take back whatever you need to from it. But I think in regards to, I think we already seen trends that the reading numbers were trending up and that we were seeing some growth in there. And I think resetting what that expectation might look like and maybe even resetting where we want to track going forward, perfectly okay with that. I don't see a ginormous problem with that. The 6th grade ELA numbers of guardrail 2, I think we do need to still keep that goal with regards to having the larger group. I think actually the one chart you showed where it breaks down each of them so that we have them in front of us is a great way of communicating the sub goals of like each group, trying to improve this group, or maybe there's a particular group that's still not quite getting to where we want it to be, and how do we affect that growth, rather than looking at taking them and disaggregating them. And the reason I say that is because while we're seeing some growth in our Hispanic numbers, which is really great to see that the closing of the gap there, if that trend turns around and falls back, then we may be, we may not see that same growth next year. Right. And I think we need to be really recognizing that. I will say we probably also need to have a category of multilingual that is not just Hispanic. But it's not something we thought about as a board. So that's maybe a question for the board to consider, because we do have many students in some of our schools that are multilingual learners that are not just Hispanic, who may affect other numbers in a way. So I don't know if that's something we track in some way or if there's a way for us to think about that as well. But I think that's another just general thought is just for the goal 2. Goal 3, again, I think that it's worth looking at, but it is also interesting to see that certain groups have fell off at different times based on the COVID numbers. So I mean, that also could be something else that we examine, but I think we kind of set on just tracking the goal. But goal 4 is the one that I wanted to kind of spin the brunt of what I was going to share with you. And I think in part it's because what we were talking about then was that we were just now moving into the period of time where they were doing the badges, right? And that's when we had just trended into how you would get your different certifications as part of the state guidance on that. And we wanted to make sure everybody met the required things to get to graduation for their workforce credential. So it wasn't so much that we were looking at specifically them going out and getting a job, but it was to complete what was required under the state law to get the different certifications for the different industry related credentials as part of the ODE, now ODEW standard. I think if you were going to make any changes to that, to me, it is about, are the students employable under what they're getting? Because I think the ODEW standard is so low that many of our students, while they may get that credential, can't walk into a field any higher or any better position than they would if they were just coming out without the credential. And I think that's where we should be focusing a lot of our effort if we're talking about changing the standard for the goal, is that now that we know we can do it, now that we know that we've got processes in place where students are getting into some of these classes, the workforce credential part may be something we have to look at of how we track it differently, or something to that effect, as to both getting the ODE standard credential, but also getting some type of industry licensure, industry recognition, industry certification, or something to that effect that may accompany this standard. So we could track both, right? We could track those who complete the required credentials, and are there students who are meeting some number of, if you're in a med tech program, are you recruiting enough credits to then be an associate's degree or in a program, or be able to jump in and be a LPN or whatever the case may be, that's at a lower level for your ability to perform the task. If you're doing cosmetology, right? If we're talking about bringing cosmetology into the program, are you able to be licensed to go perform some skill within that program somewhere? And so I think that, to me, if we're talking about making any adjustments, I think we need to be talking about making adjustments as to what this means now, if we're going to adjust for more numbers going forward, because we now have met certain standards and now know how to do certain things within the expectations of our graduating seniors. And so I worry if we are not adjusting that way on that fourth goal, then we're going to end up just kind of giving how many people can meet the minimum qualifications the state requires. And I don't think that's what we're trending for, or what we were hoping for with that. And I do know the CCP thing is also because in order to not have to pay for it as a parent, your child has to pass the class. And the minimum requirement for passing the class is a D.
Right.
So on some standards, while we would want it to be a higher grade for at the end of the day, it's really about, did they get credit at school? So I respect the reason why we have it that standard.
Yeah, and just 2 quick points. The reason, like, for what was done for purposes of this, since we did not know how the original numbers were set, very easily could have set a C or higher, or, the 12 points, maybe we could have said more than 12 points. There's just, or we could have said, one of the measures that we get from ODEW on the Career Tech Planning District report card is 4 points or higher. But we didn't know. I will just give a note, and you never know how long it's going to take them to do this, but ODEW has publicly said that they want to move away from a point system for credentials. Evidently, Ohio is the only state that uses points for credentials, and they want to move to a tiered level. So like tier 1 credentials, tier 2, tier 3. Part of the questions that they're not able to answer yet is, what does that do to graduation? What goes into tier 3 versus tier 1? We have been told that probably by the end of this school year, they will be ready to roll out some initial information about that, which then would even change this calculation, because if 12 points no longer exist, then we have to figure out how to adapt in a number of ways to that change.
Thank you. Are you done?
And just the purpose of the workforce credential was so that they were eligible for graduation. So whatever the standard we were looking at the time was what was minimum required to meet that element of having a diploma. I think we are now at a point where we can say we can do more than that. And so if that's what we're talking about, trying to expand upon, I think we still do that minimum standard, but we may be able to do more.
Yeah. Great points.
Thank you. Board Member Craig, Board Member Matt. So I just want to thank Board Member Craig for raising that point about the goal for, I know that was something that was brought up uh, uh, meetings back as an assignment. And so I know that Assistant Superintendent Randolph has already begun some conversation and work around that. So maybe that is something that we can look further into, because I do agree with you. We don't want to just look at, okay, how many are enrolled or how many are able to be credentialed, but moving the needle forward and leaning into how many students are, actually able to walk into apprenticeships and continue that work. So thank you for elevating that concern again, Board Member Craig. As it relates to the other goals, I am happy to see that we are moving forward and we're trending upward with the data. So my concern isn't so much around what target we set. My concern is around really looking at where we are. And then again, I know that COVID happened. I know that we have to start somewhere in terms of making progress, but it really does dishearten me to see where our students are trending academically, especially when we look at, our subgroups, our Black, our Hispanic, and multiracial students. And so my question is really around what comprehensive plan, and I asked this before, what comprehensive plan are we looking to put into place to make sure that all of our students are receiving an equitable education? Because when I look at this data, I see a concern with equity, right? And so how are we having those difficult conversations to drive our instruction? In addition to, how are we making sure that all of our students, as much as we possibly can, are on grade level or above grade level? Because again, the data that is reflecting back to us suggests differently. And so how are we putting in a comprehensive plan to not only set the goals, but obtain those goals? And then my last question is around, how have we taken the time to look into what interventions or what strategies we've put into place before that are successful, and how can we scale those to really be more aggressive with how we are again working to acquire the goals that we set for our strategic plan? Superintendent Murphy.
So, Board Member Mapp, I believe it's the next board meeting where we have our presentation on our instructional model and professional development plan for this current school year. In addition to that, one example around your thought, what strategies are in place that seem to be working. We're taking a deep dive into that tutoring aspect for the schools that have seemed to be successful with their standards. So we are currently coordinating what that can look like across our school district and not just be in one or two schools. So that work is in progress as well.
Thank you for that. So I recognize, and just having spent time in the classroom, I recognize that tutoring is important, but what are we doing with that tier 1 instruction that we're expecting all of our students to get? What are we doing with that tier 2 instruction? How are we able to capture our students while they are in school? I know that it's not our job to do everything, so I'm not saying that, but what are we able to do? Because the tutoring would be additional, right? What are we doing as it relates to, again, that tier 1 instruction to ensure that our students, we're not just doing remediation, but we're doing acceleration with the work? So how are we showing them on grade level, above grade level work, while also helping to catch them up? And then another question that I forgot to ask around this, again, just in looking at the data, what blares out to me is, it's really devastating to see where our subgroups are. And again, this is not just your administration, it's years of administration, right? But looking at where our students are, I'm also concerned about, what does representation look like to help support our students get to where they need to be academically? Thank you. Any other questions? Board Member Lindy. Oh, I'm sorry.
So
Superintendent
the
Murphy.
first part, in terms of even
My-
tier one, looking at that, that is the piece, that's the information you'll get during the next board meeting. And I only use that tutoring as an example. I understand that that's not, I know that's in addition and extra. That was just an example of where we've seen a process that seems to be working with young people. The only reason I shared that. In terms of representation, you're talking about our staff. What does our staff look like?
Yes, so
Yeah.
we know that, so when I see this data, I'm seeing that our Black, our Hispanic and multiracial students are, yes, they're making progress.
Mhm.
And maybe I want that progress to move a lot swifter, right? But this is concerning to me. And I know that this is concerning to our community. And so I do wonder, what does representation look like in all of our schools? And I support all of our teachers, all of our staff, all of our administrators. But I do know, and research also shows that representation matters. And so I know that previously, we had a push for Black male educators in the classroom. So what does that representation look like to ensure that we are supporting all of our students as best as possible?
We can definitely get you the data specific, but two pieces I do want to share. One, in our HRT department, we do have personnel specifically working on the recruitment of people who look like our students, definitely. The other program that we do have going out of our early childhood department, I was worried we may lose that because of funding, but we do still have the Leading Men Fellows piece where they're working with our youngest, our preschoolers trained to work with them on literacy skills. So those are two examples I can give you right now, but we understand what your question is and we'll get the data.
Do you have the microphone?
Working. If I could also say, there we go. For the tier one, tier two, et cetera, one of the things that is also taking place, in addition to what Superintendent Murphy said, to tie that together across the district. Previously, for the last couple years, we've had a pilot group of schools participate in multi-tiered systems of support training. So we have an aggressive rollout of that, where we have now increased from the original 14, we've added 18. So there's teams of people from each of those schools participating in professional development on MTSS next week. And then we have a rollout to bring in an additional 20 to 30 schools in January, and the remainder of the schools will get training by the end of the year for next year. And so we do recognize that some people look at MTSS and tiers as, well, I'm not in the pilot. So we're doing away with the pilot, and we are bringing everybody on board, which then ties in directly with what Superintendent Murphy referenced will occur, I think, at the next board meeting.
Thank you. Board Member Lundy.
Is it on?
Rob, our mics are doing, they're blinking.
I'm sure that was user error. I'm sure that was my fault. No, this is great. Thank you. I think this is a great discussion. And I really appreciate all of the data. I echo, I think, Board Member Mapp's effort to be clear-sighted about the stakes that are involved with us getting this right and us getting this right quickly. I have a just somewhat radical suggestion, because I think it's important to pull back a little bit and look at across multiple years, what are the different things that are going to be happening in CPS? And for my part, because the current goals and guardrails are going to sunset or would sunset at the end of the 26-27 school year, this next school year, we're not that far away from needing to write new ones anyway. And there's been an enormous amount of change in leadership in CPS. And the idea of goals and guardrails are based on a governance coaching model that we are no longer using. I think it's fine to let go. And my recommendation would be, let's focus on just this school year for a moment. And I think that this is naturally going to be important because by the first meeting in October, we're going to be setting performance objective targets for our superintendent for the superintendent's evaluation for this school year. So let's just focus on this school year, while perhaps in parallel, we work on writing a new multi-year strategic plan. Rather than, I'm basically saying, like, what if we were to just like work on writing a new strategic plan this school year so that we could start it next school year? I think that would have a couple of advantages. In addition to the ones that I mentioned a moment ago, so much of what we're going to be able to do turns on what our financial resources are. And I think there are so many big question marks about what our financial resources are going to be over the next couple of years. I think some of that's going to turn on what the state of Ohio does. Some of that's going to turn on what this district decides to do in terms of asking for any kind of new money levy. And so I think rather than those two decisions operating separately, I really think we should bring them together so that whatever we're proposing in terms of a new money levy is tied to what we think we can accomplish when it comes to student outcomes. And doing that really well takes a while. Like, I think that is a year-long project minimum. So why not take the time to do that well and then relax and let go some of the current goals and guardrail pieces? I think that would both let us answer the long-term questions well, while still holding the administration accountable for meeting improvements in this school year. So that's my radical suggestion. And I wanted to just say that I really agree with what Mr. Craig said around a high bar for what is valuable in the workplace for students in terms of what we're measuring, what we're tracking against. I fully support that direction. So I'm so sorry. I had one last thing. I think whatever we do in this front at the end of the day, I would like to come from a recommendation from the superintendent. Not tonight, obviously, but I think you're asking us to get our input so that you can make a recommendation to us. I have shared in this meeting everything that I'm thinking, so you know everything that I know. But at the end of the day, I would love to vote on a recommendation that comes from the administration on what they think the right answer is. Thanks.
Thank you. Board Member Weinberg.
Yes, so I will be really quick. Superintendent Murphy, in regards to, I know that Board Member Mapp had asked for some follow-up information regarding, especially with goals 1 and 2. And I know for myself, what I would, I guess what I'm wanting to hear or be able to see when you do come back with some information, just a more detailed, transparent, what is the actual plan in terms of how are we going to increase the goal numbers that we have set for the ELA and for our particular subgroups. So I know that there's a plan in place, but I'd like us to know that plan, whether it's giving us the steps of by month or by week. I don't know what you're going to give, but I feel like that will also help not only board members, but also community members, parents as well, just kind of having that confidence in knowing we are doing our best, which I know we are, but what are the steps that we're trying to do to help to improve that? So I would look forward to seeing that in the coming weeks. And I know that you're going to come very prepared for it too. So thank you.
Thank you. I just will add, I echo the sentiments of my colleagues, but it is just really disheartening to read the data from a subset, the subgroups. And I'm on fire, so I don't exactly understand why there's not more of a sense of urgency. And it makes me, and I believe that there is. I believe there is on all fronts. But we have a emergent problem here. And I believe wholeheartedly high achievement takes place in the framework of high expectations. And we need to have those high expectations. I'm looking at the trends around the other groups, and the Black students, which our district is predominantly, is lagging. So there has to be a reason why that is. And I think you all are the experts and you know why. You know some ideas, some things that we can try. And I'd like to hear some dreams. I'd like to hear some things that maybe you are thinking about working that might work. Is it possible to explore some partnerships or some creative ideas? Maybe we need to do some things different, but I think it is an emergency that we close those gaps more significantly. And more specifically, we're talking about proficiency less than 40% for Algebra 1. That is amazing to me. And it's very, very, very disheartening. Around career tech, you and I have had this conversation, Mr. Turner, and I've had this conversation with other people across the state. There appears to be career tech dollars and a priority from the governor and the state of Ohio around career tech, which we are now calling career tech, but people in the community know it is vocational. So I don't understand why, I don't know how we got to 47.6, but 55.75 is not much better to me. And so I am no longer interested in students being exposed to a class. I'm interested in not if they are working in the field. I understand we can't track that, but are they graduating with the ability to do so? Not just exposed to classes with a D, but are they graduating, walking across our stages with enough credentials to work if they choose to? And that's what we need to be tracking. I know that question has been asked multiple times, multiple ways, and I have gotten an answer a couple years ago. It wasn't where we needed it to be, so I don't exactly know if that's not why we're presenting it, but that's the number that I'm very interested in. Can our students graduate with the ability to be gainfully employed? Now, whether they choose to or not is one thing. And I'm interested in that number, and I'd like that number. That's been an assignment that's been open, and I'd like it by the next meeting. I do share my sentiment with Board Member Matt, but I know from a color perspective, I know white teachers who are awesome teachers to our students, and I know Black teachers who are awesome teachers to our students. So representation absolutely matters, but I want to understand what's going on with this particular demographic that we can't get that number up. And so is it something that we need to do? Is it something that we need to explore? What is it? And the trend has been going on for the past few years that you all should have some idea as to what it is. I'm not interested in a number that looks good. I'm interested in the truth so that we can get better, because I think you all have the answers. I know you do. You're experts. You have the answers, but just tell it to us like it is, because the numbers, the community is wanting results. 37% proficiency is heartbreaking, and we can do better. We need to figure out what it is. And if it's tutoring as a supplement, then, let's look at that and come with some solutions as to how we're going to get it better, because we need to. So any other board member questions or board member Matt?
Not a question. I just wanted around the conversation about how many students are able to, that's graduating, that's able to be licensed in some type of workforce program. And so, Mr. Turner, I know that we have the partnership with IBEW, right? And so I know that that's a great program maybe to begin to look at, because I know that not only are the students not only are they acquiring a pre-apprenticeship, there are several that I know specifically have been able to go on, graduate, and now they are in the apprenticeship program and actively working. So those are the things that we're trying, at least for me, I believe my other colleagues are maybe looking for the same information and data. What numbers are we seeing with those students that are able to have that level of matriculation in the professional world?
Off again, 2 points. One, IBEW, we have had a pretty good amount of success with that in the last couple years in growing that. It started with a couple schools. Now we've got 5 or 6. Just heard the other day from a counselor at a school that said, hey, so-and-so wants to be part of this. And that is not a school that is necessarily been a focus. And so we're working that out. One of the stumbling blocks that we've had, which has seemed to reverse itself, is to complete that program, they have to pass an essential skills test, which is really reading and math. And that has been a problem. So we do see the pattern. I completely agree with you. One of the things that happened last year is after instruction with those students, they turned it around, took the test a second time and actually passed it. One of the things I'll just say about credentials, and I agree with everything you all have said. Part of the push and pull that we have, and we have 200 plus partners just through Career Tech. So some partners do want a very technical credential. So IBEW, for example, students who complete that get a 12-point credential, called the Electrical Interim Alliance credential, but Training Alliance Interim credential. But nonetheless, they can go into the IBEW program, and there you go. But there are as many who say, yes, we'd like a technical credential, who say, we will worry about the technical credential. We need students who have leadership skills, students who will come to work, who will be good employees, who can collaborate. So we do have a good amount of students who complete a package that includes leadership excellence, 2 Lean Six Sigmas, which is pretty sought after out in the business world, the yellow belt and the green belt. And those add up to 12 points. And so I think part of it is the semantics of what a credential actually is. And some of us, when we hear credential, we think welding, we think LPN, we think this, but then there's another set of people who say, we'll worry about that. We need people who are going to come in with these leadership. And we do a lot with the Lean Six Sigma yellow and green. Now, black belt, we haven't touched that yet. That's pretty intensive, even for adults who've already left school. So definitely taking in everything that you're saying, but just one of the points is there are a lot of business people who do want leadership credentials, and many of them also don't have like a particular credential like IBEW. But we have we've doubled the amount of students in the last 3 years who are walking out with a 12-point package, but I do agree the minimum is definitely, what is that minimum? I definitely agree with that. What is it? And ODEW has set the bar pretty easy to hit with some of the credentials. And we've actually moved away from some of those packages because they're meaningless.
Well, thank you, Mr. Turner. I know
Sure.
it was pretty arduous. Do you have to add?
Just really quickly, because I'll do a assignment later with regard to this. I do think, while I think it's important for us to talk about leadership credentials, and I think that's a great skill set piece. What I worry about is that we have folks who are graduating with minimum standards from the state who are told they are now credentialed to do work that they are not actually credentialed to do. And that's, I think, also part of our point, is that if we're telling a student, you know what, you're ready to go into construction, and then the truth is they're not even at a base level or anything above a base level,
Right.
that's not, necessarily a credential. Now, there are other areas, again, for instance, in putting together, like I know in the theater programs, there are credentials within there that are not necessarily going to be a certificate or a license to do stagecraft or to do stage work, right? But you have skill sets that you could use and go and be employable, and we can think of creative ways to track that. But I just want to make sure we're not telling our students you're credentialed to do X work, and in reality, you're not. You're not licensed to do it. You're at the same starting point that everybody else would be. You may have great leadership skills, and we may say we've increased your employability, but you're not licensed to do, or you're not certified to do. And that's the only thing I wanted to add to that part.
Thank you. Okay, I think that we've probably beat you up enough right about now, and we'll move on. Thank you so much. Okay, go. I'm sorry, Board Member Linden.
I don't have any further questions for Mr. Turner. I just wanted to check are we clear on what the next steps are? Or Superintendent, do you have any questions about what the next steps are with? Because there's been feedback coming in a lot of different directions.
Yes.
I'm not
I've
sure
taken
all of it
note.
consistent with.
Yes, Mr. Lindy, I heard you say you'd like us to come back with what the exact recommendation will be. I think the board may be having a conversation on the radical idea to sunset the whole thing and focus on this year, but you will tell me what we're doing in that area. And so then I have a slew of questions to bring back specific data based on what was shared today.
So the next step should be on the superintendent to provide us some additional information based off of what she's heard. I think that was what the intention was. Yes.
That sounds great. And I would just say that, Superintendent, where you said that, you would wait from the board on whether to sunset the goals and guardrails and change the timing. I would be interested in what the superintendent, whether she thinks that's a good idea or not, as you're putting this recommendation together. I think, I would only want to do that if you thought it was a good idea. And if you don't, I think we can do something different.
Can you say that now, or do you want to wait until,
Well, I'm in no rush either. Like we can,
okay, do you want to wait?
If it's
Think
the
about it?
board's pleasure to allow us to work on focusing on this school year, that would be great, because I do think, we mentioned in the last meeting, to me, January 2026, we should begin to work on what the next plan is. So many of those are in a very good place for a lot of different reasons. And I do think with things coming down the pike that are a little bit different, or the priorities of the board are maybe a little different than what is necessarily on this paper, what I would love to do is bring you back 5 recommendations and see if we can move along from there for the 25-26 school year. If that's
Okay, and
acceptable.
we also would have some additional information at the Cal, which is all academics as well.
So goals and guardrails, that is on the agenda for Cal,
Mhm.
unless you, President Moffitt, decide to do something different. And we were planning to be prepared to come back with XY values around all of these goals. Is
Well,
that?
and if I could just quickly add, if taking into account this conversation, I would still see the Cal meetings as October, for example, there are some guardrails on there. There's no reason why that information cannot be presented as here's where we are at this point in time. And then when you get to goal 1, which I think is probably November, I'd have to have the schedule in front of me. Again, there's no reason why it cannot turn into this is where we are at this point in time.
Mhm.
Even the steps being taken to impact this data, which was already part of the process that we were going to ask people who own that work to do. So I don't see, if there's this change, it impacting in a negative way at all what's presented at Cal. It just focuses that without necessarily having the why part. It's more, this is where we are. This is why we're here. I think which gets to the heart of many of the concerns that I share that you all have mentioned is why is it this way?
Sure,
And what can be done to impact moving the needle forward?
got it. I think we've got a plan. Got a plan. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Superintendent. Superintendent Murphy, please update us about, did I miss something? Oh, okay. Superintendent, like, was that a good cheer? Like, glad you gone? There you go. I got you. Superintendent Murphy, please update us about the first week of school.
Yes, ma'am. We've had a very busy and productive first several days of school. So Rob, if you go to the next slide, what we have been working on leading up to the school year was deep preparation, as you know, around closing a $51 million budget gap. A lot of our time, effort, and energy and collaboration was done in that area. We have also provided the professional development for all of our faculty and staff leading up to the start of the school year. Super kudos to our facilities team for moving all of the new schools, changing high schools back to 9-12 buildings, creating our middle and junior high schools, and all that was done. All those moves were completed by August 1st, which just gives us more time to lean into allowing teachers to go into their classroom and being prepared for our children. Also super proud about the fact that all of the buses were routed by August 1st. And thankfully, that we have received grace around late registrations where it might take a little bit longer to get that bus routed. But Mr. Burkhart would tell you he's pleased with our on-time performance, although there are, of course, some things that we need to continue to work on and to iron out. Then in terms of the present, right now, as of, well, this was last Wednesday, 34,613 students. You see the number of employees we are working with this school year. I think it's really interesting to think about the number of meals we're serving. We have 3 vacancies for resource coordinators at Aiken, Cairns, and Hyde Park that the School Community Partnership Team is working to take care of. We did launch phase 2 of the growth plan, including the corridor model. We mentioned the new middle schools and junior highs. The Montessori Lab School is growing. We just had a call even today for a couple more students to be enrolled there. We've increased the number of welcome centers, and you can see the list. It goes on and on, providing additional seats for in-demand areas such as entrepreneurship is started at Woodward. The Zoo Academy is now district-wide. We did have a hiccup with the Zoo Academy of both schools taking attendance for the children, but we've gotten that ironed out, increased the number of seats available for gifted students at Spencer and Walnut Hills. Seats increased, I think they're up about 125 children. And we did start the 9th grade at Sailor Park. So then on the last slide, there is a bit about what's the plan, where are we going next? And it really kind of lends to what you just talked about. 1, getting ready for our November activities. 2, the treasurer and I have talked about conducting budget engagement sessions virtually and in person. We've got those scheduled. Well, they were scheduled, Thursday or so? And so you'll start to hear more about time and place for those. We are following through with our opportunities to engage our MLL community, which at one point was a board assignment. Our deputy did take the lead on getting feedback from community members around our MLL students and what they would like to see happen. And so our next step is to work on the next step from the list of ideas that were shared with us. We will begin to build out what phase 3 of the growth plan will look like in preparation. We talked about the kids wanting the automotive and the cosmetology coursework and credentialing to be able to graduate with those in hand. We are revisiting our facilities master plan, understanding and have not forgotten that there are portions of our buildings that need to be repaired, corrected, taken care of. So that is not off of the list. We are completing our curriculum implementation plan. I think you know that we did an RFP for someone to come in and help us. We finished scoring those RFPs last week. We did run into a technical glitch with uploading some data, but that team is meeting and we're continuing to move forward. I am hoping by the next business meeting, there will be a name to present to you for your support and approval. And we have our teacher allocation committee starting this week, which is the committee that looks at the number of students in our classrooms with the teacher ratio to make sure that we are in balance. We hope that there won't be very much movement because we did a lot of this work in the spring and the summer, but there may be a need to make a few different adjustments. So I am super proud of the team. I'm super proud of every staff member, and especially our partners who stood with us at the opening day of the school year, showing support and being a village for our children.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions? Board Member Weinberg.
I have a statement first, then a question. Just wanted to thank you and your staff. It looks like we're doing some great things for our students. I just have one question. So we are down a little bit in terms of enrollment. Can you maybe talk a little bit about maybe some of the reasons why or what might be a plan for us to help to increase that?
Yes, so a couple of things. Our customer care center is working really, really hard. And the volume that we've had these first couple of few weeks is great. It's great, but it has come with some challenges. And with this new centralized enrollment piece, we have been able to identify that we probably need to provide a little bit more support leading into the school year. And so because instead of going to the schools, they're coming here. And so we will and have made a few adjustments there, but they're still enrolling. They are still coming here every single day. There are some enrollments that are not complete because we're missing some type of documentation that we have to have. And that is students pre-K through 12. The pre-K students where we may have some flexibility, K on up, pre-K we don't, and we have to have the appropriate documentation to be able to provide to move forward. So there are quite a few preschoolers still out there waiting, and our team is working really, really hard to get them going
Thank
and
you.
to avoid as many delays as possible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you. Board Member Matt.
My question was around enrollment as well. And so some of the feedback that I've been hearing in terms of the decline is the result of transportation as well as the new centralized enrollment, whereas, families were able to go to the school, maybe because they don't have access to transportation, but it was easy for them to maybe walk to their neighborhood school to enroll them. So I'm just curious to know if those are the same concerns that you're receiving and around a decline. And also, are you seeing a trend in certain maybe grade bands around the decline with enrollment? And if there's a plan in place, because like you said, yes, putting more support in the centralized enrollment process, but we have families and students that have not been able to get enrolled. And I've heard from certain individuals that they've been trying for weeks. And so we don't want our students to miss critical school time. And as a result of that, they're just choosing to send their child or children elsewhere. So yes, we are hoping that enrollment increases, but I do want us to have those hard conversations about what's actually occurring and how we can put systems in place to support that.
Absolutely. I can share with you, board, a document Jeremy prepared for me Friday that shows the specific numbers by schools, and you'll see that there isn't really a theme behind the changes and where kids are going, maybe with the exception of one particular option I'll share with you. But in terms of the centralized enrollment, while we're in the infancy stages of this and ironing things out, I believe that over the course of time, it'll be better to do it this way in terms of our EMIS reporting that goes to the state. This is the first time out, and I don't want to make any excuse about it. There are some things we have to iron out and that we have to do better. I do know that we have the support of our principals and their staff making calls, which is what we would do any other year, especially around this time of year with teacher allocation coming up. So definitely there is work that has to be done, but I think people are on board to assist in getting it done.
Okay, and when, I know that you said that there are students that are still needing to be enrolled. When do you think the customer care support team will have those finalized numbers for you all to present that back to us? I mean, granted, I know students will still enroll throughout the year, but
Yeah.
where we are able to have a more accurate count that's different from this.
Yes. I can get you the most update count on a day-to-day basis, quite frankly. But if Friday is your pleasure to give you, here is where we are, I'm happy to do that, for sure.
It's really based off of you, from your, lens. I know we're past that, like Labor Day. People say, okay, after Labor Day, the students will show up. But from your lens, what do you think would be a good place to say, this is our best effort or our best thinking around where we are in terms of enrollment? Again, we know that there was conversation around the levy renewal. We know that also increased enrollment is revenue. And again, we want to retain our students and our
Absolutely.
families. So, just wanting to make sure that we have an accurate, count of where we are with our enrollment. We know that there's been a lot of changes that have occurred. And so wanting to make sure that we are knowledgeable and informed about how we're moving strategies forward.
Absolutely. I will get that to you on Friday, and I'm saying Friday because that teacher allocation committee work is happening this week. And then we land on where are the children, what is the number of teachers that we have. So it should be solid by that point.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? All right, we are moving along. Do board members have any acknowledgements or announcements? I just have one. I know that I've come in here a couple times since the start of school and it has been jam-packed in that front. So I want to make sure that I acknowledge formally and thank our customer care team and everybody just everybody, principals, teachers, support staff, everybody has pitched in, and I know you all are stretched really thin. I just appreciate all that you're doing because it has been busy and you all have been dealing with all kinds of parents and all kinds of students and doing it with a smile. Every time I come past, people are like, hey, Dr. Moffitt. Sometimes it's wavering, but it is definitely appreciated. And I want to say thank you to everybody, the entire 6,000 plus staff. We see you and I appreciate you, and I think we do too. Yes, let's clap them up. Superintendent Murphy, please present any announcements and retirements that you may have.
Yes, ma'am. We have one retirement to celebrate today, and that is Deborah L. Ranson, who is a secretary, an administrative secretary in our Department of Student Services.
Congratulations.
And Madam President, I do have a kudos, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. I'll be quick. So Board Member Weinberg mentioned this the last meeting, but I wanted to share this lovely picture. And this is from her coordinating the legislators luncheon several weeks ago at this point. I thought it was a very impressive picture, so I wanted to share with the public. And then this next slide, this is a picture, I don't think the video got in, but our Aiken students were a part of the color guard presentation of the flag during a Cincinnati Reds game. Was that last week, I think? So no video.
Oh,
If not,
well, congratulations.
well, they looked really good. I was super proud of them, so.
Oh. All right. Board Member Weinberg, the chair is now yours to please conduct the hearing of the public.
We are now at the item on our agenda for hearing the public. Each speaker will have 2 minutes and will address all comments to the presiding officer. If you are online, once the request to speak has been granted, you will be invited to enter. You should click on the camera icon to go interactive. You will provide your name, affiliation to the district, school, community, topic, and your contact information if you would like a response to any questions you might have. This request is consistent with board protocol, and we appreciate your help. In the unusual event that someone is not willing to follow this protocol, we do reserve the right to end that person's time. Again, each person will have 2 minutes to speak. When the timer goes off, your time is up. Please refrain from discussing any personnel items. And finally, we ask that your public commentary be respectful of all listeners. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call a group down, and when I call your name, you're just going to come down to the seats below here, and then one by one, you'll come up to the microphone. But before I call the names, do we have anyone online? We have 3. Okay, we'll go with the 3 online, and then I'll go with the first group of names.
Thank you. Our first speaker today is going to be Ann Schooley. Ann, you have 3 minutes. I'm going to unmute your camera.
Just 2 minutes.
2 minutes, I'm sorry. You have 2 minutes, and you may go now.
Thank you. Members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and was encouraged listening to the comments about the new enrollment process. That's, as you've acknowledged, created some challenges for families without transportation. And as a result, you're still trying to enroll students at this point. So some families also don't have transportation. It is day 13 of school, and we've still received little to no communication whatsoever about transportation for my child, who goes to Westwood, and is entitled to door-to-door service. So we've gotten zero communication there. And I'm curious and concerned about the teacher allocation committee meeting this week when you don't even have firm numbers of children enrolled. So you're going to be basing those decisions on staffing based on inaccurate class sizes. That's going to disproportionately affect certain schools where the children are not yet enrolled and where the children do not yet have transportation and have not come to school as a result of the lack of transportation. So by doing that, you're going to result in pulling staff from neighborhood schools, make things harder only to have those schools then have to deal with additional enrollments going forward. And when this centralized process is in its infancy and brand new, to be making teacher allocation committee decisions now, which is a couple of weeks earlier than it has been done in the past, seems very, very problematic to me. And I would really strongly encourage you to consider changing that timing for the teacher allocation committee so that you do not end up with schools who lose teachers only to find out several weeks from now that in fact they have far more students than they anticipated. You talked a lot about proficiency and trying to make sure that kids are ready and job ready. Kids that have missed 13 days of school and maybe more are already going to be behind, which
Thank you,
impacts.
and that is your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Gabrielle. Gabrielle, you can unmute your camera and microphone.
Good evening. My name is Gabrielle Boyd. I'm looking at, okay, this is my first board meeting. This is I'm a first-time mom of multiples, and I entered the CPS lottery, hoping to have my kids go to an immersion program. They have some of the best academic outcomes in the long haul. I'm distracted, and I'm a little bit distraught because I've listened to the entire meeting, and I'm so nervous about those numbers about literacy. And I think that preschool moms that are new to the district and maybe new moms are a missed opportunity for getting those literacy numbers up. That process of enrollment and getting into the lottery was a very clumsy process. I felt very like a fish climbing a tree, so to speak. But my biggest concern that brought me to this meeting today was that I looked all over the CPS website, and I picked this school. I picked Gabrielle Boyd. My girls go to AME, and this is their first year. And this is my first time sending them off into the world. And so I'm very nervous about that whole process. But I was most concerned to find out that they would not be in an immersion program. They would be receiving the regular traditional Ohio early childhood curriculum. And while I was told that curriculum was a really good curriculum, it just wasn't the curriculum that I bought into, or that I thought I was signing my girls up for. And so it was kind of heartbreaking to find out on the first day that among the many things that kind of fell through the cracks.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabrielle. Thank you. And our last online speaker is going to be Jody Freeman. Jody, you can unmute your camera and microphone.
Okay, thank you. I'm a parent at the School of for Creative and Performing Arts, and SCPA implemented a new policy. You have to turn it off. This year regarding tardies to remedy what they shared were excessive last year. My student is in the 7th grade and did not contribute to those tardies from previous years, but under the new policy, students with more than 6 tardies in an entire school year are not eligible for audition for musicals or to participate in any of the extracurricular activities. So as you know, participation in activities promotes higher academic achievement, personal and social development, advantages with college and job applications, mental and emotional growth. So if all of the extracurricular activities or opportunities are stripped away, I can imagine some of those very artistic students that are social and expressive having nowhere or no way to express themselves, and attendance may even fall off, as well as academic achievement. So many parents feel the tardy rule is excessive and feel that the school is not supporting the students or promoting success in this area. Now, I say that because simultaneously, the school has implemented policies for phones and security checks that have made entering the building very challenging. So every day there's a long line down the sidewalk where students are waiting to enter the building. This creates stress at the start of the day, even before they've stepped inside. The current environment is not conducive to learning, and some students are skipping breakfast because of the delays at the door. We all know that proper nutrition is essential for learning as well. So I reached out to the principal directly regarding my student receiving multiple tardies since school started, probably more than she had the entire year last year. And this has happened despite being dropped off well before the start time. I was advised to bring her as early as 8 a.m. due to ongoing staffing challenges, which are reportedly beyond the school's control. Well, expecting students to arrive nearly an hour early is not a reasonable long-term solution, especially when the real issue lies in the school's inability to effectively manage the daily
Very
entry.
much. That is time, friend. And
Okay.
that is the last speaker, Board Member Weinberg.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to call down these particular individuals, and if I do mispronounce your name, please accept my apologies. But it's Kelly Morris, I think it's Kishara Brown. Did I say that correctly? Kishira Brown, Marilyn N., Andrea Higgins, and then Stefan Pryor. So as you make your way down, you can go in the order that I called, or as you come down and you have a seat, we will allow for there's seats down here for you. There's seats down here. Whoever's name that I did call, please just come down to the front to the seats here, and then you can go ahead and go first. You can go first. Yeah. And then we'll just go, yep, you can go next.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Is the mic on for you? You want to try it?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Okay.
can hear you. Ready to go.
Okay. Dear the Board of Education,
I'm
dear
bringing it
Board of
down just a-
Education.
yeah.
I'm writing to formally address a serious and unacceptable incident involving my son, a 7-year-old autistic nonverbal student at Covedale Elementary. On August 27th, 2025, my son rode the school bus to Covedale Elementary in the morning. However, that afternoon, he was denied transportation home. He remained at the school for nearly 2 hours until I was finally able to retrieve him myself. When I contacted UTS, I was told that my son was never on a route this school year, and there was nothing they could do. The representative I spoke with was dismissive and unprofessional. I was further informed that the Board of Education instructed them not to provide service for my son. When I attempted to reach the Board of Education directly, I was placed on extended hold. After requesting a supervisor, I was promised a call back, but no one ever contacted me. On August 28th, I began calling again. No one could explain why my son, who has had consistent transportation services since the first day of school, was suddenly denied. Because of this failure, my entire day was disrupted and my child's safety and well-being was jeopardized. To date, I have not received a single call back or explanation. After raising my concerns publicly, I learned that my family is not alone. More than 50 families with special education children are experiencing similar transportation failures, including buses not arriving at all, children being dropped off at incorrect locations, students being denied services despite eligibility, safety concerns that put vulnerable children at risk. This is an issue and represent a complete breakdown in accountability. On August 27th and 29th, I sent letters to multiple officials. To date, I have received no response from the Board of Education. I want to be clear. I am not only advocating for my child, but for all children in this district. Families deserve safe, reliable transportation. The lack of accountability, communication, and oversight is unacceptable. If this issue is not addressed immediately, I will be forced to remove my child from Cincinnati Public Schools and pursue further steps to ensure my child's rights and safety are protected. This is unacceptable.
Thank you so much. The next person. And then you can just say your name into the mic.
Hello, my name is Kishira Brown, and this is my grandmother.
Hi.
My son attends Bond Hill Academy. He is autistic. We have been having problems with the school bus. He got picked up one day, and in his IEP, he is supposed to be accommodated for transportation, door-to-door services. They do not have transportation at all. They denied him. Last week, he was left at the school for an hour and a half, and all they could tell me was they didn't call. I don't currently have transportation, so I'm using Uber and I'm using all type of ways for transportation to get him back and forth to school, but some days he are late, but this is due to transportation. They have not said anything about it. And then also extracurriculum activities or programs within school, they don't really advocate for autistic children. They tell us that that he needs a pair, a one-on-one or anything for extra programs. I cannot work. And if I have to transport him to school, then I'm not able to work because I have to pick him up from school. And those are my main concerns. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker.
Andrea Higgins. On August 29th, I was made aware that Tierra Higgins, my special needs child, had an incident on a bus. A little boy had her by both her ponytails. I was not notified until after school. It happened early in the morning. I was only notified because the bus driver told my sister, who gets Tierra off the bus every day, that the little boy had her by her hair. This bus does not have a bus monitor on it. I don't know why. For the past 5 years, Tierra has always had a bus driver and a bus monitor. I called UTS. The supervisor was, oh yes, I would be very upset. He had her by her hair. I said, no, I'm not upset because I know this bus driver needs a bus monitor. She picks up 6 special needs kids. She has to park the bus, get off the bus, put the kid on the bus, strap them in, get back on the bus. And it was, we have to put in a request for a bus monitor. Nonsense. She has had one since she was 3. No reason. My child hair should have been pulled. She's nonverbal. She couldn't even call for me or anything. And my biggest thing was no one notified me. This happened at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't find out until I got off of work at 5. Why did no one call me? Why am I driving home talking to a bus supervisor about this incident? I didn't get offered to see the tape, which I don't want to see it, but I was not offered any awareness of this situation. To this day, she still is on this bus without no bus monitor because I can't take her to school. This child who pulled her hair, he is still on this bus. He's special needs, but he's also violent. It comes with the territory. I get it. The bus driver, she's doing the best that she can, but her on this van by herself is unacceptable. She has 6 kids. It's just too much for her. So I hope we can get this situation addressed soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Our next speaker.
You asked them, do they have their contact information?
My name is Stefan Pryor. I'm running for city council. Hold on. You all right? My name is Stefan Pryor. I'm running for city council. I'm here to advocate for the people. Up at Walnut Hills High School, the traffic is a mess. Y'all need police officers up there to direct this traffic. It's a mess up there. And I need y'all to do y'all job. School board members, get on them. Superintendent, Ms. Murphy, get on them. I was looking at the news and Channel 9 News, and the autistic student denied a bus ride home. That's a damn shame. Y'all need to do y'all job. Y'all need to get on this bus service, UTS, Universal Transportation System. They need to be on probation. They need to be fired, whoever these bus drivers are. They need to be checked for drugs, alcohol, or something. You don't leave no baby at a bus stop, or you don't even take that long to bring a baby home. 31 minutes and 30 seconds, a drop off, you gotta be on some type of drugs. So y'all need to check their system, check this bus route system or the bus service system, what's going on with these drivers. It's ridiculous. It's a shame. When I seen this, his name was Lavelle, right? And see the mother on TV, it's sad. This system needs to get fixed. It's broken. We here to talk about different things, but the system is broken. Ms. Murphy, they brought you aboard to do your job. You got to do that job thoroughly because it's sad. These babies shouldn't have to go through this at all, at all. So my name is Stephon Pryor. I approve that message. I love you, and nothing you can do about it.
Thank you so much. Did we have anyone of this group left? I think everyone spoke, correct? Okay, thank you so much. The next group of individuals that I will call down will be all of the marching band individuals. So come on down and I'll start calling your name. Willie Stevens, Louise Ramirez, Jonathan Stallings, Raymond Brown, Armani Hill, Amir Williams, Terrell Phoenix, Samaria Williams, Mael Manor, and Christian Reynoso. And it doesn't have to be in that order. Whoever would like to go first can go ahead. And there's more seats over here on this side. If you'd like to sit, there's a couple more seats.
Make sure, okay. Not good. I'm good. All right. Hello, CPS. My name is Willie Stevens. I came to this meeting today to address a situation happening in the band world. There's an issue going on about us and Aiken. An administrator said that Aiken's drumline can no longer perform with us due to us going to a band performance we've been on in the past. We got permission from the parents and used drums from Woodward and from the drum instructor that was working with us. I'm not sure what caused them to do something now when they could have spoken up about it when we got back from the trip and we could have talked it through. I feel like this is going to limit the exposure that CPS bands already don't get. This will affect some of Aiken's seniors who use band to seek scholarships to go to college. And without the exposure, they are less likely to get these scholarships. Recently, there have been students who've gotten scholarships due to band. This will greatly affect not only them, but us as well, and any student who will seek band to get scholarships in the future. At Woodward, we struggle to get students to join band and to have a percussion section. And those students at Aiken came and helped us out. We also help out Aiken when they need horn players. And that same administrator is telling those students they cannot perform with the all-city band. We are supposed to perform a halftime show for the Cincinnati Bengals, and now we do not have a percussion for that major performance. That is my time.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker, you can just continue down the line and then just say your full name as well.
Hi, my name is Luis Ramirez Castanon. Good afternoon. I would like to talk about what is going on right now. I've been recently informed that the Aiken drumline cannot continue to be part of Woodward Marching Band. This upsets me and others, and this is not good. Many students put in efforts into keep on playing music. They have also dedicated their own time and use it on the things they love, especially on band. Believe it or not, band is not just about music. It's also a community, a group, or even better, as a family. And also, this is a heartbreaking news for families, and my parents and I was talking last night about this, and they were talking about this was just a shame of how we all have to go through this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is John. I'm a senior at Aiken High School, and there's a problem regarding the band. I feel if it wasn't for the drumline, many of us would have been on the streets, but instead we found a safe place where discipline, teamwork, and music gave us a real future. Now we're told not to have contact with the people that helped us build this. We created a section that not only competed, but dominated other sections, but also built a family across the entire district, not just one school. We brought the community together around something that's positive, something us kids can be proud of. And now it feels like that's being taken away from us because of this program. Students who may never seen anything outside the neighborhood has been able to travel and collaborate with their peers and connect in ways that inspires hope. Some of us upcoming seniors has been recruited soon, receiving scholarships and building futures throughout opportunities that make the band and only the band and drumline made possible. Now we're being told we can no longer do all city or even play together. And we'll miss events like the Migos game a once-in-a-lifetime chance that motivates kids to stay engaged. At the same time, every program is already struggling with numbers, so taking away these opportunities only makes things worse. We thought the district was supposed to be for the kids, but the actions being taken feel like the opposite. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker.
Hello. Hello everyone and good afternoon. My name is Raymond Brown and I am a junior attending Woodward Career Technical High School. I'm not going to try to rush this because I want this to be heard. As a band student, I am here to discuss the current situation about the drumline by showing and trying to tell everyone that this drumline is not only an opportunity for children, teenagers, and many people alike who have an interest and love for band to connect and share experiences among all kids who are included inside of this community and have a passion for people and playing instruments for themselves. This drumline has helped us produce a sound and show love for what we do. The fact that we have went around so many different places and played our music to share our love and positivity is showing all of you that we have given to everyone, that we have displayed our music towards with us as a band, something to have faith, interest, and a future to look forward in. Music and my very own instrument is something that I've found a passion and love for. And to me, without this drumline, our band is missing a piece. The moment we have had this drumline collaborate with our band has felt like we have filled that piece. And it's really made a true connection with a bunch of people and different students that we have had inside this band and the drumline, especially with the people inside of CPS, even for the children who have a love for sound. Thank you for my time, and thank you for your time and having my speech.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I'm here to speak up for Woodward Marching Band. Recently, we have been told by an administrator that Aiken High School drumline can no longer perform with us. This has took a toll on our band. I have been a part of Woodward Marching Band for 3.5 years, so saw it go from 30 members to 5 and back up. With that being said, we have been through many drum lines, but what I have to say is Aiken has stuck out the most with their hard work and dedication. They have shown me what a real band feel like. If I could go back to the bus route on the way to Atlanta, Georgia, I would. It was full of love and laughter. But instead, you all are telling me that I may not ever get that opportunity again. It's almost like you're taking away my family. We have been through trials and tribulations, wins and losses, but we always come back as a team. You all always say y'all here for the kids, but not taking into consideration of how we feel. We respected y'all decision about them wearing the all-city uniform to Atlanta, Georgia, but we feel like we have been receiving disrespect and negativity. So if you're about the kids, show it. Thank you.
And can you actually go back and say your name? Can you go back and say your name, please? Arminio, thank you. And then just make sure when you come up to the mic as well, so we just have a record of it.
My name is Amir Williams. I am a senior at Aiken High School. And I feel that multiple chances are being taken away from us all because of a so-called rival that Aiken and Woodward have at schools across from Cincinnati. But that shouldn't stop us from doing things that we love and that are fun, such as out-of-state trips and band battles, and also being helpful to another band that goes out and does everything, and that is without a drumline. I am very glad and blessed that we played with Woodward because we got to do things that Aiken did not. I feel that opportunities should not be taken away from us, such as playing out of state and playing for big stages such as NFL games. Our administrators tried to put a bad name on Woodward and also put a bad name on our drumline director, who made everyone in drumline love it and cherish it way more than we did at first. And he gave us a safe area within the drumline. So that is the end of my speech. Thank you all for your time and patience. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker.
Hi, my name is Maria Williams. I'm here on the behalf of Woodward, and I'm speaking about band. We are given opportunities like going to HBCUs, going out of town to battle other bands, also spending a weekend in Georgia. We are providing these kids with opportunities that Aiken never gave. Being in this drumline with them has been a blessing. They teach me with passion and patience. I'm so proud to be a part of this drumline. So me finding out they can no longer perform with us hurts my feelings. I have saw our program grow and fall. But what I can say is when we have those students, I feel at home. And I feel like y'all are taking my brothers away from me. Please reconsider your decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Hey, I'm Terrell Phoenix. I'm a senior at Aiken High School. And I feel like coming into high school, we all come with somewhat of a decision and with a plan to do something, like, for example, play basketball, any type of sports. But me, I chose band, and I looked at band as an activity, little fun activity to do. But I met this drumline instructor, and he became my drumline instructor for 3 years, and he made this opportunity a passion. And last week, our principal has seen our principal at Aiken High School has seen us at a Woodward football game and says we can no longer interact or perform with our drumline instructor and I wanted to come up to an understanding, like, what do they have against Aiken drumline with us connecting with different bands around, not only just the district, but with every school. And okay. We ever since this has happened, our drumline instructor has taken all his drums, because we use all his equipment when we play. And he's taken all his drums away from that school, so we no longer have access to those drums. We are now using the Aiken drums that we have been using for 5 years now, and they're broken down. They have broken drum heads, and we've been putting in orders. Our drumline instructor has put in orders for those drum heads. We still have not received for the year 2023, but yeah, I'm just hoping we can figure this thing out and not have to deal with all this drama stuff.
Our next speaker.
Sorry, y'all. Hello, my name is Maya Manor. I am a student at Woodward High School and I'm in my 3rd year in the band program. I would like to hit a few points in my speech about my program and the treatment that the band community receives as a whole. Recently, there's been a lot of mistreatment when it comes to not only our band program, but others as well. Woodward and Aiken's band program decided to combine because we were lacking percussion players and they happened to be lacking horn players. We've won multiple awards since then, and these kids who've came to our program have been looked at by college directors and received scholarships. This combination has opened so many doors for these kids and everything was going great. This small adjustment has made everyone closer and given us a place to call home and people to call family and friends. I play both a horn and percussion instrument, and I can say that learning from both directors has been a great experience and change for me personally. Things were balanced out. Both directors had a connection with not only the kids, but as well as each other. And it made all of us care for another when we needed it the most. But unfortunately, this is all being put on hold because an administrator decided to force the Aiken students to stop combining with our band at Woodward, claims to get them new equipment that they've been asking for years, and tries to convince them to stay with Aiken programs only. And the person has as well threatened to shut the whole program down if they don't comply. Bands, statistically speaking, earn way more scholarships and money than any other sport and extracurricular activity. And you all want to take that from kids who've been doing this for years, kids who deserve to get into college and experience it? What kind of district is that? This district is supposed to be for the kids, and y'all don't show that. When it comes to funding, the district has cut a lot of money out of the budget, yet the band programs still get treated like we aren't nothing, like we don't matter. You all are making kids feel as if they don't matter, but you claim to be for the kids. This is backwards and unfair, and we will not tolerate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Any other speaker? Do we only have one more or two? One more? Okay, great.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? My name is Christian Reynoso, and I'm here to talk about the band programs and CPS and the situation we are going through. First off, our administrators banned us from going to play with the Woodward Marching Band and also stopped us from speaking with our drumline instructor because he said, quote, bad influence. The reason we don't play at our home school is because it has been inactive since I've started participating back in my 8th grade year. The only big competition we have gone to as Aiken Band was Detroit, Michigan back in 2022. And over the past year, we have gone to Columbus, Louisville, Dayton, and even Atlanta. In total, we have won over 4 drumline trophies and around 3 band trophies with the Woodward Band. We were the #1 section out of various schools in every competition. That was something I never got to experience back in my home school, and we couldn't have done it without a great mentor and instructor. But now the school is trying to take that away from us, not just current band members, but any other students that would join in the future. The principal also banned us from participating in the all-city band, and now we have to miss out on performing for the Bengals halftime show. That is something that can really change our life and the history of Cincinnati. We have met many college directors with the Woodward Band, and even Dayton, and colleges from Dayton, Tennessee, and Alabama have all been talking to us about scholarships to play in the band for those schools. This is a huge opportunity for every one of us, and many of us can't afford college tuition. But if you could help the band programs in these schools, kids will be off the streets and will have a good future ahead of them. I love music. It has been a passion of mine since I was 4 years old, and I hate to have it taken away from me. Please help our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Before I go to the next group, our president wanted to say something really quick.
So we normally don't do this during hearing of the public. We don't stop the process and we don't respond. But I just wanted to be noted that we are paying attention. I heard you students came here without an adult. You came here on a bus to say what you needed to say. And I just cannot let that go without making sure that you get recognized from Aiken and Woodward, right? So we are here for kids. I heard you, and I guarantee you my colleagues heard you too. We will be looking into it for sure. I'm not exactly sure what the issue is, but we don't normally do that. But I am so proud of you. So make sure that you leave your names with Miss Phyllis right behind you, right here, because I would like to make sure that we acknowledge that you did that. You came here on your own to advocate for what you wanted. Is super important, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You have a voice, and you used it today, so thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Our next group of speakers will be Amira Thompson, Mackenzie Metcalf, hopefully I said that correctly, I'm sorry, Nathan Myers, and then Nick, what's your last name? Fiorelli. Thank you so much. Come on down. So make your way on down to the wonderful seats. I was going to say the hot seats, but I don't want them to be known as the hot seats. They're the welcoming seats. So come on down. And then who will be the first speaker? They asked you to go first. Amir didn't want to go first? Okay.
Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Nick Fiorelli. This is my 5th year being an ESL teacher at Withrow High School. I just wanted to come in and share with the board how it has been a wonderful start to the year. The students are in uniform. Being an ESL teacher, I tend to just interact with the ESL students and I have a relationship with them. And then with the general ed kids, I don't teach them, but I will interact with them and, tell them to move along to class or just ask them how their day is going. And this year I am getting a lot more eye contact. I'm getting my hand shake. I'm getting, how are you doing today? So that's just something that I wanted to share with the board. Some other tidbits that I hear from teachers. My colleague shared that in his 9 years at Withrow, that this has been the smoothest start ever, that our meetings at the beginning of the year have been focused on the weaknesses that our school needs to address. I hear frequently from the students that it's a lot calmer in the hallways. And that's just not due to the 7th and 8th graders not being there. That's just through the 9 through 12 wings as well. So I think the current admin team that we have in its current structure is really paying dividends. I think Board Member Craig and Mapp, I heard you talking about the data and our students being prepared for the workforce. And I'll never forget the study about how each year a student is exposed to somebody who's incredibly disruptive, how it takes away a lot of their lifetime earnings. And with our admin team now, the kids know that if they are disruptive or misbehave, that there are consequences. And I think those dividends are already paying off and the culture and climate of the classroom. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker.
My name is Amira Thompson, and this will be my 7th year at Withrow from 7th grade to 12th grade, and this is officially our last year. I want to just say, starting off, the atmosphere at Withrow has been great. We have went from virtual to just A group and B group to being finally officially in high school, and it has been amazing as far as the environment, the kids, the teachers, everything. It has been a definition of Tiger Pride and a definition of structure. And we just wanted to bring our thoughts about our current principal. We absolutely think that this is a definition of pick somebody that is fit to be a principal, not just based on race or color in any situation. It's based on who should be fitted and who should not be fitted, and who could keep structure and business and like a agenda between any types of kids, and being able to handle every different types of kids from any different age, race, anything, just ever. And we just wanted to bring that attention to maybe listen to us as kids inside the school and not just alumni or just teacher. I guess I should say you guys should bring your attention to us as students actually being in the school throughout every year, and especially some of us that's been there since junior high. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker. And then just say your name too.
Mackenzie Metcalf. Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Murphy. My name is Mackenzie Metcalf, and this is my 14th year at Withrow University High School. And in that time, I have seen many leaders come and go. I'm here today to strongly support keeping our current interim principal, not just as an interim, but permanently. Our principal has brought a sense of consistency, structure, and a calm that our school truly needs. Withrow has faced ongoing challenges, especially with student behavior. He's addressed those issues head-on with fairness, empathy, and a steady hand. His leadership is already making a noticeable impact on our school climate. He's present, engaged, respected. He supports both students and staff and holds everybody to a high expectation. I've seen the difference firsthand, and I truly believe that he is the right person to continue leading us forward. We don't need a search elsewhere. We already have the leader in our current school as our principal. I said that wrong. I apologize. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And our last speaker.
Hello, my name is Nathan Myers. I'm a teacher at Withrow. This is my 13th year. I'm the 10th grade team leader. I'm also the longest tenured active athletic coach at Withrow and a PD facilitator on the district level. I rise in strong support of our current interim principal to be hired as a longer tenured principal of our school community. As a teacher in the building for over 12 years now, I consider myself very connected with the sense of the building, both with staff and students, and with our current interim principal, enjoying strong support from both groups, whether those groups are being vocal or not. My colleagues as staff at Withrow that are gathered behind me are also a clear reminder of the support for our interim principal as well. As evidence of that, I present 2 key points. Consistent with your earlier discussion on goals and guardrails and the emphasis on a standard of growth in the context of higher expectations, we have had an overwhelming sense of a positive and consistent start to this school year. Teachers experience our interim principal's professionalism, clear communication, follow through, and culture building as an assistant admin last year. There was a sustained period of applause in the opening staff meeting on his behalf because of what we know about him and his work. Number two, the students deeply appreciate him. You have heard from one, and we have a representative group of them gathered here as well. After an initial pushback against him because he'd be doing too much when he first came, they quickly found he was just following up to do what he said he would do. After a period of years with lack of simple follow-through on admin enforcing what they said the expectations were, the adjustment period was initially rough, but they found that he combined those expectations with significant compassion. So I ask that you hear this word in support of our interim principal, not only as a statement from a staff member, but a seasoned staff member serving in various leadership roles who has seen Withrow across multiple administrative agencies. So thank you for your time.
Thank you all. And I'm going to call down our next speaker. I do appreciate you all for coming. The next speaker is Brad Smith, and then we will definitely end with Julie Sellers.
As they come down, thank you, students, for coming to share your voice. We're listening and you are appreciated.
You can go ahead and start.
Good evening, Board of Education. My name is Brad Smith. I am a resident taxpayer, and I am work for the Cincinnati Federation of Teachers as a field representative. Teaching is complex. It is a well-researched fact that teachers make more than 1,500 meaningful decisions per day. Teachers make these consequential decisions based on substantial breadth and depth of skills and knowledge. Teachers are degreed professionals. Our practice is grounded in the science of learning, content, knowledge, and diverse pedagogical skills that ensure each lesson is based on a variety of teaching methods, learning activities, and assignments. Teachers tap into their intelligence, creativity, empathy, and deep caring every minute of every day as they craft respectful, responsive learning opportunities for every student. The community should expect no less. According to the U.S. Department of Education, teachers are the backbone of our democracy, fostering curiosity and creativity, building skillful individuals, and strengthening informed citizens. A great teacher in every classroom is one of the most important resources we can provide students. So why would some on the Cincinnati Public School Board want to limit teaching to a one-size-fits-all approach? Who benefits from their efforts to limit the tools teachers use to meet the needs of diverse learners? Are they considering the students' needs when they insist that teachers merely use one of the curriculum resources that the district decides to purchase? Unfortunately, we're already seeing the results of this, that the curriculum police is coming to the schools and they're telling teachers you have to be on page 5. It's resulting in tears. It's resulting in people not trusting the administration because they're not there to support them. And ultimately, it's going to lead to teachers leaving the profession. Teachers are professionals, treat them as such.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, members of the board. I wholeheartedly approve of coming up with a new strategic plan, and hopefully some of the things that I speak about this evening might be able to influence that. The employees of this district, but I want to start with something else. The employees of this district have not heard anything about reinstating the pony back to twice a week. We feel like this has been handled by way of a stall tactic and will cause irreparable harm to the district. We are not currently a paperless system, and teachers and office workers are worried about students' cumulative records, and they are afraid that they will end up in incorrect locations and records will be lost. Schools do not have the manpower or womanpower to scan documents, and Focus does not have the capacity to house all of these documents from every cume of every student. Is the board holding this up through the budget cuts, and how can we get this reinstated? I know I have come up with several solutions on how to help fund it, but that has been, that's fallen on deaf ears. So again, this year, we are in a mandatory test prep mode. There are some board members who are working hard to revive an old, tired myth that teachers do not know how to teach. There is a false narrative that teachers are not using the curriculum 100% and not staying on the correct page of the curriculum. Like Brad said, it's almost as if it's the curriculum police who are making their ways around the buildings. We saw this play out last year with false data and an incorrect denominator. Some of our board members claim to be Dems, but are using educator bashing, disrespectful comments, falsehoods, and shouldn't be trusted to use, and teachers shouldn't be trusted to use professional discretion. Many of these claims practically copied and pasted from a teacher bashing report published by the New Teacher Project called The Opportunity Myth. I can go into more details about this report if necessary. But this report is nothing more than union-busting behaviors against teachers that we would expect from Republicans out of Columbus. The schools must do 10 walkthroughs per week, include reading specialists, math specialists, team leaders, and how much instructional time is actually being lost during these walkthroughs that are meaningless. Instead of chasing scores for the past 17 years and not teaching a full content-rich curriculum with hands-on engaging lessons in all content areas, after all, because the vocabulary that our students must know in order to answer the science and the social studies is within the science and social studies. And it's all used, that vocabulary is used within the ELA reading test. We must end the knowledge gap. To improve scores, we must improve attendance. There are too many students who are still chronically absent. If students are not in school, then students are not learning. And I'm going to share a document with you this evening from the Sheckley Research Group that shows images of schools and the philosophical beliefs of how to design a system to support culturally responsive pedagogy to instruction. What we are currently doing with the test prep agenda does not reflect these ideals. I hope that you have heard what the teachers from Withrow are telling you about what a difference their interim principal is making with their overall cultural and environment they are experiencing this school year. This is what a good leader can and should do. After all, the teachers are the ones in the building all day, every day, and they can recognize good learning conditions for students. After all, a teacher's working conditions are the students' learning conditions. And lastly, I would really need to address the August 29th policy meeting in minutes. The chair of the committee brought up concern, how is it determined how long CFT president can speak at public meetings? He requested that the general counsel reach out to the other districts to learn about their hearings of the public. In our contract, section 132.A, the Federation president or designee shall have a seat at the table and the right to speak at all public meetings of the Board of Ed and its subcommittees. The past 4 CFT presidents all sat at the table during each and every meeting. They sat right next to the treasurer. Yes, that is correct. They were able to speak at any time during the meeting, and it was not limited to the hearing of the public. CFT is not the public. We represent over 3,000 members, and we have a better understanding of the inner workings of the district more than almost anyone else within the district. I don't care what other districts do because you don't know what they have negotiated in their collective bargaining agreement. To me, this is an anti-union attack towards the teachers within this district. And personally, I'm not going to stand for being made to feel bad that I have unlimited time speaking to the board on a regular basis. Other boards in the past have said to me, Julie, come and speak more. We want to hear what the teachers are saying. But now we have this idea that somehow the union is the problem and the board doesn't want to hear about it. I have a copy of the Sheckley report, and it will tell you images of schools. And if you look at it right now, when you look at this, we are using our core businesses: containment, monitoring, corrective action, and punishment. That's how teachers are feeling, and it is not a way to improve overall conditions for learning. If we want to improve, we have to get back to hands-on learning and engagement for our students.
Thank you. Again, this is not customary, but Board Member Lindy, you have 2 minutes.
I won't take 2 minutes. I appreciate it. I have a question for the superintendent, but I'll wait here for just a second.
You can always just give it to Phyllis. She'll give it to us too. No.
Superintendent, I think would appreciate your perspective on the curriculum piece for a second, because I do think we have a challenge. When we were in the budget process, and I had requested that the superintendent put together a recommendation for how we could invest an amount of money to make sure this is not about being on page 1 or page 2 or page whatever. It's about getting help to make difficult and rigorous curriculum come to life in the classroom. And the suggestion that came from the administration involved using some positions that, as I understand them, are created by the collective bargaining agreement. That's specifically the district-wide mentors, and that's the lead teachers. And I've noticed that most of the criticism that we receive about trying to support our staff to teach the curriculum has come from representatives of CFT. And what I asked in that meeting was, can you guarantee that we have the support of CFT for this plan? And you said, yes. I think that's excellent. I'm concerned because tonight we had one field representative and the president of the teachers union call into question that strategy. And so I'm concerned that we actually don't have the support of the people we really need to make this work. And I was hoping you could respond to that for a moment.
So my response is, we have launched work around what exactly do district-wide mentors do? What do our instructional coaches do? What do our reading specialists do? What do our math specialists do? And we're making sure that we're aligning that work so that we, A, don't have duplication of services, B, we have a broad span of what those services look like for all of our children across the school district. We've probably had 4 sessions discussing this, where Cincinnati Federation of Teachers was at the table. If they're in disagreement, I will talk with Julie about that and find out if there's a need to pivot and bring you back a different response. But my experience has been supportive.
That's great, and that's what I hope is true. I think I remember mentioning this in that meeting, that this will be a testable hypothesis. If we continue to have representatives from CFT come to hearing of the public and describe the strategy in such a way that we just can't do this, because we can only do this if we're doing this together, then I'm concerned we really don't have the support that you're hearing about. If we can help, please let us know. But I think this is really about offering help and support for teachers. And it's only going to work if we have the buy-in of everybody involved. And I think either we'll see that in the presentations that we hear, or we won't. But I look forward, I hope, to this moving forward in a positive and productive way.
Okay, thank you. We will now have an internal audit update by Chief Audit Executive Lauren Roberts.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, President Moffitt, Board of Education, Superintendent Murphy, and for the first time, Treasurer Guston. So thank you all for having me this evening. By means of introduction to the public, my name is Lauren Roberts, and I'm the district's Chief Audit Executive. And I have the pleasure and honor of leading our internal audit department. So I will first begin by framing today's conversation by sharing the couple of points I'd like to, the takeaways for this evening. So as a reminder, the role of internal audit is to help the Board of Education as well as administration to promote accountability, manage risk, and strengthen internal controls. So through today's conversation, I'd like to share with you a unique look into the world of internal audit. And I promise to keep as exciting and edge of your seats as possible, but we'll talk a little bit about how the plan is developed, as well as what projects were selected for this fiscal year 2026. And as a reminder, from a timeline perspective, we shared this audit plan with the audit committee at the July 16th meeting and received their feedback and ultimately their approval. So this may be a document you saw in your packets back in July. So to briefly cover the process, it's a four-phased, four-pronged approach as we develop each year's audit plan. So we first begin by developing an audit universe, essentially a list of what could be audited. We then move into identifying the risks and seeking inputs for how do we determine which of those areas is a highest priority. And then we take all of that information, that's the information gathering and collaborative stage. We take all of that and then we make it quantifiable and give everything a rating and a score, because of course we're accountants, we like to see the numbers. And then it helps guide us to things that are the highest priority from either a risk standpoint, management leadership standpoint, a board standpoint, community, and it's kind of this art of putting this plan together that hits the highest areas. So again, in the fourth step there, that's when those things come together and we propose a plan to the audit committee of the projects we will cover for the year. So I'll take a brief moment to dive into the four phases. I will cover them at a high level, but encourage you all in the public to review our audit plan, which talks a bit more about the technical methodologies. So this slide shows the 8 categories in which we have looked at the district. This is a very simplistic view of a very complex organization. And essentially within these 8 major categories, we have 84 functional areas that we could select from. And mind you, those 84 are what we are just considering key auditable processes. So essentially we create this menu, if you will, of where could we look and where should we start. So once we have this area developed and we vetted across management, agreed with each of these leaders that yes, we have the most important things covered in our audit universe, we move on to the next phase. So as we develop the audit plan, we have to gather information because our assessment is only as strong and as robust as the information that we have as an input. So you can see on the slide in front of you all of the areas that we have sought that feedback in collaboration throughout the district. One notable area that we perform each year is a risk assessment survey. So that was shared with each member of the Board of Education, our audit committee, and then a wide array of leadership throughout the district. And we received over 60 responses. And we sincerely appreciate the time that everyone puts into that because we take that information and apply it very thoroughly to our understanding. So together, all of these inputs give us a clear understanding of our picture as it relates to financial, student information, and district priorities. So here comes the fun part, the numbers. Well, maybe that's just me, but the impact and the likelihood are the 2 factors that we use to provide a quantifiable number for our next slide, which I won't jump to just yet, but it's the risk ranking. So essentially, you can see on the slide that impact is the severity if there was not a control in an area. So kind of what could happen, what could go wrong. So auditors always like to think in that, how do we prevent things from happening that we don't want to happen and promote the good things to happen? And then the likelihood, of course, is how likely is that to actually take place? So I share all of that to provide a little context now for this risk heat map. So this is something that we did a little differently this year. We received feedback from the audit committee over the years to say, truly, how are you connecting all of this risk assessment work with the projects that are selected? So this year, we can see very clearly, very visually, where each area falls in terms of the impact and the likelihood of that area. So you'll see this slide as just the 8 top areas, those high-level categories. But in the audit plan in front of you, and for those online, the one that is linked, you will find in the appendix there is a heat map or a risk map for each of these areas in greater detail, essentially showing all 84 of those functional areas mapped out. So why does this matter? So for us as internal auditors, this is really helpful because we say, okay, what from the top in that red, should we maybe perform an audit, lend a hand, partner with management? But also it's helpful from our leadership's perspective in working with Treasurer Wagner, now Treasurer Guston, and Superintendent Murphy. I think we've seen a lot of potential for this work to say as management, maybe there isn't an audit that's needed, but maybe there's a resource that this area needs to bring that level of control in a little bit and to bring that out of the red. And then further from the board standpoint, I think the board is always looking for insight into where things lie. Are we green? Are we yellow? Are we red? And I think this type of methodology can really share that insight. I will say this type of work only gets stronger and better the more that we all feed into it. So I think there's really an opportunity to kind of leverage this thought process, if you will. So in conclusion, I'm kind of headed towards the home stretch here. We have developed the internal audit plan. I won't spend time unless you all have specific questions on the projects. However, they all are detailed within the audit plan itself. As a brief reminder, advisory projects are more consultative in nature. Assurance is like a true audit will produce a report. That's the audit reports you're more accustomed to. And then risk analysis is continuing this work. This was actually a project last year to kind of adapt this. So each year we hope to get better, stronger, and more impactful with this work. And then furthering the work of the internal audit department is always a key pillar of our plan. So I do believe this year's plan pulls together the key priorities of the district and really adapts the role of internal audit. I think a weakness of those who maybe aren't as familiar with internal audit is that it's all historical looking. We're looking at things that have already happened. And I think our take and really our initiative this year is to be forward focused, leaning with the leadership, and to say with all of these changes, the redesigns, are we proactive in filling our control gaps and process changes as we go into this year? So I welcome any questions you all have. This was during audit committee, probably a 35-minute presentation that I tried to consolidate, but really appreciate the opportunity to share this with you.
Thank you. She definitely understood the assignment. Brevity is the word. Did you, Board Member Craig?
So I will start off by saying, as the only member of the board, membership of the audit committee that was there, it was still a very informative presentation. It was very concise, because just as every board meeting, we struggle with finishing on time. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things, and I think it's really important for us to understand with regards to the role that internal audit plays. And I think this is part of where the evolution of internal audit has come to. Because what we were struggling with 2 years ago was the amount of things we were auditing and getting in that situation where you'd be stuck in the mud of the audit because there wasn't clear direction as to how work was being done, like consistency in how work was being done year after year. And now we're at a point where we're dividing out the work that is advising to get folks ready, to get folks into regular processes, to identify those potential red areas within some of those departments. And also now moving into that assurance level where we're actually able to do audits of processes because they've moved into a place where the red parts are just things that we want to make sure are being done correctly and are being done consistently, as opposed to things that we feel the risk is so elevated because of the lack of process. And so I appreciate that was also one of the key differences is we did go through all of those lovely areas and which parts were the red and which parts were not and reasons. But I appreciate you kind of bringing this back forward to us because I think it also helps the board understand the role of internal audit and how we're kind of growing that role, especially as we come into this time where we're going to be asking the public to renew our levy, as we're going to be making substantial changes within the district this year, and how schools work. But we want to be able to show that there are things that are necessary still to be reviewed and processes are being grown. So appreciate our work.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other board member questions? Board Member Lundy.
Not a question, just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Well, I'm sorry, Board Member Matt. Don't leave yet.
Just a quick question. So as we've been talking about just the restructuring of the district, a lot of changes and the focus to be forward thinking. Can you speak to, and you may have already stated it, but can you speak to maybe more specifically some of the things that the audit committee has been doing to make sure that we're not only have that assurance piece, but the compliance piece and that operational efficiency, because I know that's, again, something that we've been trying to work towards as a district. So can you speak to that from the perspective of the audit committee and the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. So there's one project specifically that focuses on the budget impacts. So essentially the takeaway and the goal of that work is to take the work that the leadership teams have done in summarizing the reductions in their areas and their level of understanding of their impact, and then working with each of the teams to say, okay, the way I've envisioned all of this is there's all these nice chains linked throughout the district. And with these reductions, unfortunately, some of those chains have been severed or broken potentially. And I think of the chain being linked back up as a really good internal control or a redesign of a process. So I think the management teams have their arms around that. They're leading that work. That's work that they own. However, internal audit can bring a unique perspective and lend a hand in saying, okay, do we have enough internal controls? And then ultimately we can test them and give feedback to the management teams in a more informal way to say, okay, you think X control should produce positive results. Well, let's test that theory. Let's test it out and give feedback. So our thought and approach this year is to provide support to the work that they're doing and never to be a burden when the teams are already, stretched rather thin this year.
Thank you for that. I really appreciated that perspective. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right. Jessica Shelley Green, the Director of Marketing and Communications, will now update us about the district's engagement plan.
Good evening, board. My name is Jessica Sheely Green.
My apologies.
That's quite all right. And as a high Got it. As a mom of a high needs student, I've learned that clarity is access. If a message is hard to find or hard to follow, it's not just inconvenient, it can be exclusionary. The plan that we'll walk through this evening is a student-first, plain language mechanism that level sets what engagement means at Cincinnati Public Schools. Adhering to the feedback from Board Member Lindy from our last board meeting, we are providing a short list of what we're asking for from the board. That is to approve our definition of engagement, provide feedback, and to endorse the gold standard as our service bar for district communications. So what is engagement? At my short time serving in this role, I've heard the word engagement used many, many times. However, I've realized that in every one of those scenarios, it has a different definition. So the Office of Marketing and Communications has taken some time to think about what engagement means at CPS. This is our definition. It is the intentional two-way exchange between the district and its students, families, staff, partners, and community. It goes beyond providing information to creating opportunities for voice, building trust, and fostering collaboration that strengthens our schools. While that's a beautiful definition, I'd like to take a brief moment to dig deeper into what does the term look like at CPS. Our outcomes for engagement should look like a place where students thrive, where families feel connected, where our staff is aligned and our community participates. We've defined 3 levels of engagement. 1 is to inform, which is one-way communication. 2 is to involve, two-way communication. And 3, to co-create, which usually comes through our community partnerships. Why this matters as it relates to board goals and guardrails. It provides transparent, inclusive, responsive communication. Specifically for guardrail 5 and 6, it speaks to attendance and partnerships, making next steps easy and a way to amplify our partners. And as it relates to academic goals of reading Algebra 1 and graduation, we are able to turn clear communication into strategy that leads to family action. Why the context matters. In a post-COVID society, expectations are different. Communities are looking for faster updates, clearer guidance. In a digital-first world, mobile is the way to go. So everyone is on their phones, looking at QR codes and short recap videos. We are in a society where we're doing more with less. So in this plan, we will talk about templates and ideas that we have to better equip our principals and our staff, as well as administration, as well as providing consistency in our channel mix and how we communicate with our audience. I wanted to take a moment to talk about the generational lens that we are speaking with in our audience. So we have our students who represent Gen Z and Generation Alpha and what they look for as far as content and being engaged with. Our parents and caregivers, Millennials, Generation X. Typically, we found our email, text messages on Facebook, and they want step-by-step clear direction. Our grandparents and community may look like boomers, so it's important to have plain language, large print, and easy access to the information. Our staff and our partners, as well as across all, we want to ensure that we are being inclusive, so that may look like multiple language, avoiding jargon, and just making sure that our messaging is consistent across the board. This engagement plan serves as an umbrella, a plan of plans. So within the marketing and communications department, I would say that our marketing plan, our marketing guide, as well as our crisis communication plans have been pretty standard. However, with the introduction of the engagement plan, we'd like to see those provide an umbrella for those 2 plans. So while engagement is the system, our marketing and our communications plans sit under that umbrella for speed and consistency. I want to take a moment to talk about our channel mix. So these are the various ways that we engage with our audience. In person, through school visits, LSDMC's meeting, we have our Sundays with Shauna, and new from Just Ask Jen, we'll have our Money Matters with Mike. We have a pretty robust newsletter system here at CPS, as well as other channels of digital, which include our website, social media sites, our feedback loops that include surveys, office hours, focus groups that we'd like to implement, our media, sharing our good news story. So not only just media that we receive externally, but our internal protocols of how we share the good news that's happening at CPS. And school and district based, which looks like middle, junior high school community sessions, and the local school decision-making committee. So the next 3 slides really focus in on the matrix of our audience and the purpose. And it helps us to clarify our top channels and the feedback mechanism by group. I'm not going to spend time going through each slide, but it just drills down again, based upon the audience, if it's families, students, staff, principals, the channels that we're using to engage with them, and the feedback that we are seeking. Moving on to the engagement events at a glance slide. These are just some of the things that have taken place or will continue to take place as we engage with our communities. I will be attending some of these events, as many as I can. especially with the middle school and junior high engagement as we look to solidify names for those particular schools, as well as LSDMC meetings, parent organization leader meetings. We have an upcoming neighborhood community council breakfast that's in the works this week. And then we also have our district-wide culture calendar. So this provides a snapshot of ways to keep in touch with things that are going on in our organization. I spoke a little bit about the newsletter system. This just provides more clarity on the various newsletters, and I believe that there may be more, especially at the school level with principals and the newsletters that they send out. I would say our work is to really bring about consistency when it comes to sharing best practices for newsletters and how information is shared, as well as providing templated information and documenting processes to assist schools who may not be distributing newsletters at the moment. Our deputy superintendent sends out Here for Kids, which is on Fridays. Superintendent Murphy distributes the Sunday Scoop, which is a monthly newsletter. And then from the treasurer's or finance office, we do have a CPS financial facts that's distributed on about a quarterly basis. When we look at digital and social channels, we have our website that also houses our individual school sites, our social media at I Am CPS on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And then other communications include our email, text message, and robocall. As far as listening and follow-up, we would like to implement a micro survey through Google Forms that will be district-wide. So it's one survey asking about 5 or so questions that is sent out within 48 hours after major events. And really, it can be for any event. The idea is to have a central place where the audience can provide feedback and we can get a better understanding if the message was clear, if they understand what to do as far as next steps after that particular event and so forth. We also like to start doing a public recap. So implementing what we've heard and what we'll do in a timely fashion to acknowledge our audience and that we are actually listening to and hearing them. And then as far as media inquiries, we also get messages through our website quite often, social media DMs and comments. We just have implemented a standard as far as our follow-up and follow-through for those methods. When it comes to accessibility, these are some simple things that we have committed to do every time we communicate and engage. So that would include plain language, avoiding acronyms and jargon. I talked about larger text in instances where it would be applicable, translations for our priority languages. So we've learned that our top 4 languages here at CPS are English, Spanish, French, and Arabic. And so making sure that that information is communicated so that it is accessible for all. When we're talking about metrics that matters, so we're really focusing on 3 top metrics that include our reach, response, and reputation. Our reach speaks to who saw the information. Our response is how quickly, how effective we are with the information, and our reputation. So how did it land? How did it land with our audience? That may look like likes, shares, comments on Facebook, for example. We are trying to implement an engagement index that is similar to the green, yellow, red method, as well as a reporting cadence. So we have each of our team members working on a dashboard with applicable metrics for their role, where we will then report out in our weekly team meetings as well as an SLT and as well to the board as needed. I've included a sample metrics dashboard. This is not actual numbers here, but more so to give you an idea of the types of metrics we will be looking at and tracking. So through our Google Analytics on our website, we're able to see things like number of pages that have been viewed, unique visitors to our site. Through our various software that we use for newsletters, we're able to see how many have been opened, what type of device they're opening from, et cetera. media mentions, social media, again, including likes, shares, and comments, and then internally our on-time delivery, what we've committed to. Here's a quick breakdown of our operating model for marketing and communications to flow like a small but mighty newsroom, where we intake information, we verify, we're able to craft messaging around it, publish, monitor, and update it as needed. In addition to our weekly marketing meetings, we will implement 2 times a week a 15-minute stand-up just to ensure that our team is on one accord, as well as the development and implementation of school starter kits. So this consists of ready-to-send templated messages for our schools, as well as other assets to help communication go out faster so that there's not so much reliance on our department to turn that information around. The next slide talks about the gold standard. So it really is highlighting the Office of Marketing and Communications team and how this work is accomplished. We have the sensational 6 that I call them, starting with Ms. Sheila, who is our most tenured employee. And Ms. Sheila is really the glue that holds our department together. She's able to provide a bridge for us of institutional knowledge that a lot of our newer team members just don't have. So she provides a great perspective to us of what things have been done in the past, maybe what worked and what didn't work. And also what you'll see on each slide forthcoming, we did a team building exercise where we talked about characteristics that we value in a team. And so this is really helping us to work better and smarter and faster. Next, you'll see Kim. She is our digital content associate. And Kim is really a team player. She's all in. She's committed to ensuring that the information on our website is up to date. And we are also working to do a website audit where we find the pages that are missing, that may be outdated, so that, again, we have fresh content, relevant content, and also that the information can be easily accessed online. Next, we have Catherine, who is our communications associate. And Catherine is really our lead writer. She keeps us all on point with reliable and knowledgeable information. So she's really that brand voice and the ambassador for the CPS brand as far as how we communicate and what our brand looks like. The gold standard for our communication specialist, Mary. Mary is also can be considered, I would say, a visual brand ambassador. So you'll always see Mary with the camera as well as assisting with videography to really capture the authentic moments of our district. And she is really the backbone of our student influencer program. So being able to see the videos of our students leading the way, Mary is the one who coordinates that and makes that come to life. She's also the thought leader behind making it a more structured program, working with our teachers and students where they may have the opportunity to gain credit for the things that they're doing as influencers, as well as learning more about how to communicate in a strategic way. We have Joe, our media relations associate. Joe brings a lot of passion to his role and is superb at relationship building. Joe is the kind of person who never meets a stranger. And so his deep media connections and being able to relate really shine through, especially in a new wave that we're introducing as far as being at the forefront and the leaders of sharing the CPS story. So not just relying on external media outlets to share our story, but being at the forefront of doing so. Joe values communication, cooperation, and compassion. New to our team, he's about a little over a week in, is Nick. He is our graphic designer. And he is stepping in to really show visually how we represent the district. So all of the opportunities and projects that come in from other departments or from schools that need our support, Nick is going to take us to the next level with regards to our brand standards and making sure that those are maintained throughout. Last but not least, I have the esteemed pleasure of leading this group and really thinking about what excellence from an educational, district communications and marketing standpoint looks like. So casting that vision and continuously building up my team to make sure we are equipped and knowledgeable in what we're doing. So again, I will put up the slide that talks about what we're asking for, but as far as what to expect next, our office is planning to send a district-wide email reintroducing the Office of Marketing and Communications, as well as providing clear direction on how to best work with us. So that will include an updated project request form link, as well as an updated good news story link. We are asking that all requests needing support from our office go through that central project request form link. This helps us to document and track the intake requests, as well as making sure that we are efficient in execution of the work. In addition, as I mentioned, the second thing will be to engage with our middle school and junior high schools for the naming session. So upcoming are parent-teacher conferences that I'll be in attendance with other members of our team as well to really engage with those parents specifically on those names. And then the third point that I want to highlight is implementing our engagement survey. So adding it to marketing and communications through flyers, just a simple QR code, and it doesn't matter what the event is. It will all link to that same form. That way, again, we can begin to ask our audience what resonated with them, if they need follow-up, etc. And that's all I have. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Board Member Lindy.
I just want to say thank you so much for the what we are asking for intro. Is exactly what I was talking about. And from my perspective, feel great to approve on just one board member. I think on providing feedback, I think the clarity you all have about what you're trying to do sounds great. I have only positive feedback. And the endorsement of Gold Standard as our service bar for district communications sounds excellent to me. And I really appreciate the whole presentation. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know which one was first.
Oh, I didn't see you. I just wanted to say thank you so much as a parent also in this district. It is very important to be transparent with the messaging. And I know in the past we've had some issues there. And I am so excited to see where this is going because the messaging is great. Everything is aligning. You all have done a great, great job. A couple of things that I just wanted to kind of point out. I absolutely love the inform, the involve, and the co-create because I think that's what the community is asking for. They want to know how can they become involved. Parents want to know how can they get involved. Students want to know how can they get involved. And I also love how you're incorporating our MLL and our ELL students as well and their families, giving that option that they're able to see different things in different languages as well. And I think for me, the one thing that I just really like is the same messaging. You're having that same message on all of the outlets of social media. So if it's an Instagram post, if it's a Facebook post, if it's a LinkedIn post, it's not different things, it's the same. So thank you so much to you and your team. You are doing a great job and I look forward to seeing more from you all. Great job.
Thank you.
Board Member Matt.
I just want to commend you on an impressive presentation. I love that it was thorough, it was clear, concise, and engaging and inclusive. So I just want to just highlight that this is great work that you presented, and I look forward to further experiencing the gold standard. I also like that you spoke about each of your team members' roles and what we can expect for the work that they're going to be presenting, not just for us, but for the community to know as well. And I also equally appreciate that you have tied this to metrics, right? And not just metrics for your own purposes, but metrics that's aligned to our already standing goals and guardrails. So thank you for the hard work that you and your team are doing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Board Member Craig.
So I will first start by saying I'd be remiss if I did not say that one of the first people I met when I worked in the district was the wonderful Sheila Hess, who is like a bonus mom to every person she meets and is wonderful. I have not yet met a person who does not love Sheila. So I will start by saying that. And she's also been in the district for, I think it's 40 plus years. So it is a crazy amount of time spent here with all of the craziness that is the district. But I think I love the definition of the definition that's been proposed for engagement. I think it captures some of the discussions that we've had as a board in the past, as well as what truly defines engagement and what do we mean when we're asking folks to be a part of some level of engagement in a process. The one Well, so the two areas I would want us to explore a little bit more within the overall planning, so I think a lot of it is really good. The use of students to do a lot of our marketing. And I think one of the struggles I've had is that some of the best things we've done as a district and the things that most people have like responded to, loved, thought it was really informative, is when the students do it. So like the example to me has always been the Metro video that was just done with a student going on and talking about how to catch the Metro and that kind of thing. Like all of us felt like, man, that was like really cool. It was really informative, but it was done in a way that only a student can deliver. Like an adult can't say that same message and it be received the same way. And I say that's true for other things that we do as far as even going back to school, as we talk about the day in the life of a student or any of these type of things that really allows students to kind of understand what they're stepping into. And I think there are ways we can probably do it, and there's ways to. I look at like at UC, we have the athletics has the student teams take over their social media sometimes and just talk about what they're doing, or the student ambassadors do it, where they talk about where you go to how to get to this place on campus, that type of stuff, or all those things that the students think about all the time that we don't think about in the same way. So it's great to have them more incorporated. And then the other thing is, if we learn nothing from the lessons, from what some of the parents shared today, I do think there's a way that we can, as we go into next school year, think about communicating earlier about how to get your child enrolled. Now it's time to get your child enrolled, and maybe utilizing some of the parents as part of that process, or incorporating them and their children into that process. I know we've used them for other marketing purposes. I think we've had Avery on pictures for like 4 years now. But other folks who are able to talk about like they're registering their kid, or it's time to get my kid back to school, or something to that effect. And even thinking about that from a individual school perspective on like, what do we offer? Because that's the other part that I think we've missed in a little bit of a way. And that's not a communications or marketing issue per se. That's I think more of a district marketing thing, is that schools don't often market what they offer. So I remember one of the first things that I came to when running for a school board, where we had like a big group thing, was the back to school event they did at Woodward, and they had career tech out there, and parents who were just walking around the neighborhood were like, well, they do career tech and CPS? When did that start? And like the fact that it's been there, and they just don't have the knowledge, right? And I think that's a hard thing for us to ingrain into them. So I would love that idea of how do we plan out a lot of that part of the back to school marketing, find out what your school offers, quick link ways to do that. Even if every school had a QR code that talked about their programming, that kind of stuff would be really quick stuff. But I like where we are, because I think one of the things that you were talking about is trying to bring that stuff back in-house. So that each school isn't trying to do their own little things separately, that there's some type of internal connectivity to that by bringing it back, somewhat more centralizing it. So I think that those are the kind of things, the two areas that I think I would love to see us expand upon is the use of students and how we market, and then also just a plan of addressing times that we market certain things. Because I think we do a very good job of communicating, like surveys, communicating information, but we don't always market the district so people know what the district has to offer in the same way. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have already said. I am so excited to read your definition of engagement. I think it is very succinct, and it is an alignment with me. It's like mano y mano, we're there. And I appreciate you sharing that with the board so that hopefully we can all get on the same page as well with that. And hopefully the district, we can move towards that direction. I appreciate that you shared that communication should be two-way and intentional, because I don't think that we have always been viewed as being intentional with our communication within the community. I want to, since you are such a forward thinker, I want to invite you to continue to dream and give you the space to also look at how this is all forward facing to the community, but how do we how do we meet them where they are? I think one piece of engagement that you've definitely captured, but I always tell people we need to be in the way of people. They need to trip over us because we are there where they are. And unfortunately, our district has not been the most engaging as we could have been around phase two. And we've suffered from that. But I think there is a way for us, particularly with your plan, to be able to rectify some of that as far as getting information out. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on how are we in the way of the community so that they can almost anticipate what we're thinking and what we're doing, because they're so intricately involved and they're not an afterthought. So we do have to do some remessaging around letting them know that they are part of this and this is not happening to them, but this can be that co-partnership that you described, because they don't feel that way. Those are some of the complaints that I get. And so I'm kind of excited to hear some of your thoughts around that, particularly around our ELL families and around our students with disabilities. This particular meeting, we had a lot of families come and talk about their feeling disenfranchised with services that, quite frankly, we have contracted out, but we are the face of, and we need to get messaging out better to the families around what our role is, but how we can help them advocate. And so there's a couple of areas that I think we need immediate assistance. We need your team to work immediately with. And I'm kind of excited about hearing some of your thoughts and your ideas. And you called them the Fabulous Six, or what did you call them?
Sensational Six.
Sensational Six. So I know you're doing a lot with a small little team, and I want to say that we appreciate you all for sure. I want to also ask, the board also needs assistance with marketing and communication. So there's a piece there that is for the district, but there's also a piece that's significant for the board in kind of helping to define with clarity what our role is to the community and where it is that we could be of assistance. So I also, again, would welcome your thoughts around your department's thoughts around that, because again, there's just so much to do, and a lot of it is forward facing, but a lot of it is gathering information, but being in the way of the community so that they understand where we are and what we do, and then we can maybe just build on that. So again, thank you so much for all that you do. I know that it's kind of daunting to get up here and talk to us, and so you did it style and grace, and I appreciate that. Do board members have any other questions? Thank you so much.
My
Ms.
pleasure.
Kelly Green, I got it right.
Thank you.
All right, board members. I'm just gonna say the words TikTok because everybody knows what that means now. So, Policy Committee Chair Lindy, please begin the update about, or your summation around House Bill 42 and Senate Bill 72 with the assistance of General Counsel Hoying.
I was going to say I'm excited to hear from our incredibly competent and patient General Counsel, Mr. Hoying.
I was
Good
reading my script, I'm sorry.
All good. Good evening. We had a brief discussion at the August Policy Committee meeting about two bills pending in the Ohio General Assembly, which, if passed, would negatively impact immigrant and refugee families at CPS. I was asked to give a brief update or summation of those bills. House Bill 42 would require schools to collect information and report to the state on the number of students we are educating that fall into one of three categories. One is U.S. citizens, two would be non-U.S. citizens lawfully in the country, and three would be non-U.S. citizens not lawfully residing in the country. Bill does not specify how districts would collect this information, and importantly, CPS does not collect this information from families during enrollment or any other process. Since at least 1982, the Supreme Court case of Plyler v. Doe held that children have a right to education regardless of immigration status. We are aware of no other state that collects this information from families. And previous attempts in other states to do so met with constitutional challenges, including an 11th Circuit case in 2012 holding that Alabama's record-keeping requirement, quote, significantly interfered with families' fundamental right of accessing a public education. This bill's been assigned to the House Government and Oversight Committee. It's had its second hearing on May 20th, 2025, and expect it to be taken up again after the summer recess. The second bill is Senate Bill 172, mislabeled in the agenda. It's 172, which provides that no person who is or suspected of being in the U.S. illegally is privileged from any kind of arrest or detention anywhere in the state of Ohio. This follows a high-profile case out of Boston in which a judge allegedly assisted an immigrant from escaping detention from ICE as a part of courthouse procedures. And the bill specifically does relate especially to courthouses. It tries to reverse some of the policies that have been put in place from so-called sanctuary cities, et cetera. But it could also impact CPS, and it would reverse CPS's longstanding policy of how we work with law enforcement, really of any kind, immigration enforcement or any other law enforcement. It has been the longstanding policy of the board only to present a student for interrogation or questioning, either with parental permission or with proper legal process. This bill would purport to turn that policy on its head. This bill was passed by the Senate on June 18th. It was introduced to the House on June 23rd and is pending currently in the House. I welcome your questions. We will be monitoring both bills.
Board Member Lundy.
Thank you. One of the things we chatted about in policy, and I'm glad for the chance to bring it to the board here, but I hope that neither of these bills pass. And I hope neither become signed into law. If they do, I would like to go back just a month or so to when I was very proud of our district for being one of, I think, 2 school districts in the country, I think 2, that sued the Trump administration for withholding federal title dollars that had been passed by Congress and that had been signed into law. And I reference that just because there are all kinds of awful things happening, I think nationally and in our state. And on any one that we can, I want to see us fight back. And I don't know that that's going to be possible on every single one of these cases. But if we have a legal argument, if we have a constitutional argument to fight back, I want CPS to be leading the charge. And I'm so proud that we were part of leading the charge on the title dollar issue. I think it's premature to do anything at the moment because neither of these bills has been passed. But I wanted to at least raise the issue that if we have the opportunity again to fight back in court and make the constitutional argument and be on the right side of history on these issues, I just wanted to say I hope we can do that.
Thank you. Board Member Craig.
I think I want to also just reiterate one point that I think you were making, and I think it's just important for us to let other folks know about, which is we have an obligation, not just by our saying we will do it, but because the law says we have to educate any child in our district, regardless of their immigration status. And I think one of the things that I'm truly fearful of is stuff like this is meant to defund programming and processes. So what we'll then say is, okay, well, you have a bunch of immigrant students. Guess what? We're not going to give you money for this part, or we're going to take dollars away, which then puts us in a position where we're having to fight to get funding in a way that is appropriate. And I think as we already know, there are so many other ways that this state has made an effort to take away funding from our students in order to deny public education the resources it deserves. I think this is another example of things that are being done solely for those purposes. In a similar fashion, I could almost immediately imagine processes where the state says you did not hand walk the person from ICE down to the classroom to pull the kid out of the building. And therefore, we're gonna take X amount of money from you because we know they've already do that with other things. We saw that with how they've done their transportation systems place. We see that how they do for other stuff. So I hope that what our public also hears is these are efforts to whittle away at public education. These are efforts to attack and put different barriers to public education in place. And we'll push back on those efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Treasurer Guston, please update the board about Ohio state law overrides by the governor.
If you don't mind, I'll do B and C kind of together.
Say it again.
If you don't mind, I'll do items B and C together. So
Okay.
the overrides and the property tax legislation,
Yep.
they're very much intertwined. So just for the public's information, if you remember at the end of the budget process, the Governor DeWine vetoed, I think did 67 line item vetoes. A lot of them were around school funding and property tax reform. The Ohio House has in discussion to override 3 of those vetoes. They overrode 1 a little bit earlier. That was the one that ends fixed sum levies. There's 2 more in progress. One is about the Raleigh County Budget Commission and whether they can reduce property taxes. And the other one changes how the 20 mil floor is calculated. So legislature did take a break kind of after the budget was passed. They are back in session now, but I have not seen, and legal counsel Hoying and I both independently checked today. There aren't any override votes scheduled at this time. We do anticipate they will be scheduled. It's just kind of, I think, a matter of time before those things to happen. So going on to property tax reform legislation, we have some updates here. So I'll start with the property tax work group. So if you remember, that group was created by the governor. The chair is former board member and state senator Bill Seitz. Also, our commissioner, Ms. Driehaus, she's also on that work group. Their last meeting was on the 4th, so last week. Talked about a lot of things, things that might impact us. One is talking about, can we pause property tax reassessments statewide to give this legislature a little more time to look for a legislative solution. Another option was changing the ballot language from millage to percentage. So you would see instead of X number of mills on the ballot, it would be X%. I don't know, that's a huge change. One of the more interesting ideas is a tax deferral program. So folks who met a set of criteria of generally age and income, the state would allow them to defer their property taxes. The state would pick that up until the property was sold, and then it would work kind of like a lien. And so the state would recover the money at that time. Not sure if any of the things going to come of that, but that was a big topic of the last meeting. And then the final thing I would say is there's still a lot of interest in kind of the provisions in House Bill 186. So that is the bill that would change the 20 mil floor for us. And so it would limit the growth of property tax revenue on the 20 mil floor to the amount of inflation over the same period. So that will have, and it wouldn't impact us until our next reappraisal. So we have a couple of years, but it would decrease increase in the property taxes. Other items, there's the ballot initiative on eliminating property taxes statewide will not be on the ballot this November. So we can not be concerned about that for a little bit at least. There are bills in the General Assembly. So I did get a message from Senator George Lang about Senate Bill 66. We sent him a letter earlier in the year, and he wants to make sure there's a grandfather clause and any changes to the 20 mil floor, which would be a help for us. So that would basically take existing tax levies and not have them change. But anything new would then fall into the 20 mil floor. There's also 3 new bills that were introduced in the House in the last couple of weeks. These are called the Taxpayer Freedom Trilogy. So that's House Bill 420, would eliminate any continuing tax levies. So you would have to, every levy would be time limited, either 5 or 10 years. So you didn't have to, so you couldn't pass a continuing levy. House Bill 421 would allow citizens to do a ballot measure to reduce inside millage. So inside millage are the first 10 mills of property taxes. Those are split amongst the different groups inside a taxing entity. So out of the 10, I think we get about 4.9. And then the city gets some, the county gets some. So this would allow taxpayers to put on the ballot a basic initiative to reduce the inside millage below the 10. And then House Bill 422 would raise the approval threshold for any new tax levies. So anything over 1 mil would require 60% approval. And a new tax levy over 2 mils would require 66% approval. So up to almost 2/3. And like I said, those are all brand new. I don't think any of them had hearings yet, but it's important to know they were kind of rolled out with some fanfare as another attempt for the General Assembly to adjust property taxes.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Thanks.
Seeing no questions, anybody have questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Board Member Craig, please update the board about your question around employable graduates, or did we already talk about that?
I was gonna say, I think we somewhat covered this in the discussion. I'll have an assignment later for it, but I think we kind of covered it in the discussion.
Okay, and you've also got the next topic.
Yeah. So we move these quickly. So this one is really just in looking at the amount of things that we as a district use paper for. I'm hoping we can move ourselves into at least the 21st century soon. And so just thinking about ways that we can create a plan to start digitizing a lot of how our records transfer. I think this also helps speed up some of the processes, because I do think that is what also brings a lot of the consternation when folks come to the district office to enroll, is the amount of things that we have to have, 2 or 3 times somebody have printed off, or 2 or 3 times somebody have brought up because either they didn't have it the right way in the first way and that kind of deal. So I just would like to put on the thought processes for the administration of just bringing us more into a digitized version of the world here. And again, putting us towards keeping some of these documentation, making it more digitally transferred throughout. Because the other part I'm thinking about is that, at least when I worked with the general counsel's office, the amount of records that we maintained and how we had to store those records became even more cumbersome. And in this day and age, we don't exactly have a bunch of free spaces to keep adding more to. So I just want to make sure that we're thinking about moving ourselves in towards that digital footprint era.
Any comments? Questions? Thank you. Board members, are there any assignments? I know, Board Member Craig.
So I will just do 2, and one is really, again, having us work through a plan that looks at a way to track the career tech credentials, the industry credentials, in addition to the standards that the state applies. And so the assignment is really just to think of a way to develop a plan or whatever, so that we can track some of those records and how we keep up with some of our students. Because I think that's one of the challenges, that there's not necessarily a consistent manner for each industry or each workforce. So if we can just kind of start to develop that plan, and then the time frame I was thinking about is just by the first of the year, having some type of plan put together on how we can start to keep track of that. And that's something we could then implement as students finish up this year. And then the second one, I think we kind of raised it already in the discussion, but I just think it'd be helpful to put together plans for how we can develop a marketing plan for next start of the school year that would incorporate the use of our students. I again think that some of the best things we've done at the back to school program or video that was done, the students walking around. I think some of those types of things are great ways to also get parents engaged. So just coming up with some type of marketing plan for our next school year that we can start to then prepare for and build on, so that we can get students and folks registered earlier. Because I do think the late registration, these are things that may help the district sell the district as well.
Any other assignments? Board Member Lindy?
This is not a new assignment. I just wanted to follow up. I think the superintendent addressed some of this earlier. I just wanted to check and thank you. I heard reference in the presentation around the RFP around support for curriculum to be coming, I think, at the next meeting. That sounds great. Thank you. Did you also say at that meeting, here's what we used to do last year? Here's what's different about that this year with respect to those 3 positions? Is that also coming in the next meeting? That's great. And along with that, what we're going to look for to see whether or not the efforts are making a difference over the course of the year. This is all in the assignments log. I just wanted to make sure I heard right. This is coming next meeting. That's great. I think the only other one I had in there was, I think you were going to come back at this meeting with a date when we could have the results of the immigration task force, like pulling together the internal and external folks to see how we could be more supportive as a district. And I wanted to check in on the date for when that would be ready.
So Deputy Smith did hold the initial conversation. We meet tomorrow, and if it's okay with you, we can talk about what our next steps are. Like, they gave us quite a few suggestions, and we want to kind of categorize them.
That's great. It's really good to hear that that's still moving. And I think if we could, this could be in a board meeting or an email, what some update on how that's going. And thank you. And that's it.
Board Member Mapp, did you have an assignment?
Yes, just wanted to reiterate what was discussed with the conversation around the goals and the interim guardrails. I know that you said there's a presentation on for next meeting about what you all's thinking and strategies are pertaining to moving the data forward as we're preparing to establish new targets, but specifically wanting to make sure that it's around equity, making sure that we are strategically thinking about how to get our students on grade level or above grade level. And then also the conversation around representation, what that data looks like for our students. And then lastly, we talked about enrollment, that you will have those enrollment numbers. And also if you can compare it to what the projection numbers were for that breakdown that you provided us with, if you can compare it to those figures, that would be helpful.
Board Member Craig?
Just wanted to send a reminder, or give some reminder for the one assignment I had previously given with regard to building the budget template that I believe they've already started on. At least that's what we'll share it at the Budget and Finance Committee, but I believe it is actually due at our next full board meeting, so that we could then go into our October work session and be able to look through, like, we're going to build the budget task force and that type of thing. So just a reminder of maybe giving us an update on that at our next board meeting.
So I have a follow-up to my request around the transportation piece. I had asked about, there was a comment that to do multiple, I just wanted to follow up around the desegregation of the 7th and 8th graders with siblings, really just the siblings piece, which leads me to my next assignment, particularly from the large amount of parents that we are having come with students with disabilities that are having transportation issues. I am concerned. They mentioned UTS transportation services or transportation provider. I'd like to have some information around the effectiveness of that provider. Is there an alternative provider? From what I understand, they provide the most extensive coverage, but we may need to do some sort of survey or something around their efficiency rate, because students are missing school. It sounds like students they're not providing the monitors that they should be. But I'd like to maybe, if there's a way that we can survey or get information from our parents and families that have students with disabilities needing transportation, to find out the effectiveness of their transportation services, so that they're not lost, so that they are making it to school, so that we can find out just because they're a provider, do they have to be? And so I'd like to get a little bit more information, particularly around that population and the effectiveness of transportation. And then I have a question. Do we survey parents around transportation, how effective transportation is for them, just our regular gen ed students?
I do not think we have done a survey around transportation in isolation.
Okay. All right, maybe we can think about it. So, I know transportation has been the bane of our existence in the past, but the only way that we get better is if we acknowledge where the problems and the concerns are so that we can see that. Anyone else have any other assignments? Question, Board Member Lindy.
I don't think we need to make this another assignment. I just wanted to loop back to it. I think a big important question is whether we have full support of CFT on the curriculum work. I think that'll be clear in future meetings whether we do or not, but didn't want the absence of me mentioning that here to have it fall off, but I don't think we need it listed as a separate assignment. I feel very confident it's already on the superintendent's agenda, and I really appreciate all your help.
That it? A proposed consent agenda has been distributed. So do board members, superintendent, or the treasurer have any exception items to the consent agenda? And I will say this, board members, we are not doing anything wrong, but when it comes out on Friday, if you do have exceptions, Treasurer Augustin was asking if we could get those ahead of time, and then you can just kind of say them and it'll go fast, or at least send them to him ahead of time. But we are not doing anything wrong. And I'm gonna call on Board Member Matt.
Thank you. Greatly appreciated. And I'm glad to hear that we were following protocol, as that's something I like to do. So I do have one exception for the treasurer's report, and it is on page 7 for the then and now certificates, which is the last item. I believe it's line item number 17. And that's the only exception that I have, that I would like to abstain from.
Board Member Weinberg, thank you.
Yeah.
Board Member Weinberg.
So on the superintendent report, on page 9, section D, in the athletics and co-curricular section, it will be lines 7 and 8. And then on page 11, section G, line 9 and 13.
All right, board members, I need a motion and a second to approve the items of the consent agenda with the exception.
Moved.
Second.
Treasurer Augustin.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Lindy,
Yes.
Ms. Mapp,
Yes.
Mrs. Weinberg,
Yes.
President Moffett.
Yes. Is there any last call for assignments? And I will entertain gladly a motion for adjournment.